Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, are
you ready?
We've got Rivalry Week. That was awful. We've got
So bad.
Rivalry Week. Let's go here. My guy in the house, Jake Ellenbogen here. My man who covers the Rams so very well, but is well on top of that, being my cohort over there at the NFC West Roundtable. We will be chopping it up tonight. But I'm so excited to have him in the house. I'm so excited for this matchup between our two great teams. Jake, how you doing, man?
Oh, man. I just went to Levi Stadium and watched the Rams beat down the 49ers. How do you think I'm doing? It's a good time to be a Rams. It's also a good time to be a Seahawks fan. So, 2 weeks ago I said, I think it was 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I said these were the two best teams, and I'm glad people are finally starting to see that.
Well, me and Jake were trying to tell people at the start of the year, first place, second place. Don't know if it's LA. Don't know if it'll be Seattle. As we can see this game, it's going to come down the line on that one. But we did know Niners were probably third place, getting old. Injuries were going to add up. I mean, the injuries thing that came up to this is you could kind of anticipate some of it with the Niners because they were an older team and older teams get injured. That's kind of the way that does work. And Cardinals, I didn't believe them as much as some of the guys did there on the panel.
They didn't do enough.
One.
They had all that money and they just didn't do enough. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So,
well, I think you touched on something that wasn't even going to be a question for me, but I guess that's it, is that, when you do look at the two teams in Seattle, they're here as much right now where they're at because they got around those things that would have been the landmines in decision-making that seemed to be pretty clear about those teams. So we talk Cardinals, you went all defense, you did nothing for the line, you did nothing for the playmakers, and with the Niners, there was so much the Niners could do. They ate that $100 million. I think that they basically made their peace in the same way Jesse has in a lot of ways that he talks about it. With this year was not going to happen. No how, no way. But you could also maybe push back on them with maybe you guys should have, because if you didn't dump that $100 million this year and you actually went on and pushed a little bit, maybe you'd be a couple games better and in a better spot to maybe still be a contender. You kind of buy into that same outlook too?
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Brandon. The way I see it is with the Cardinals, they didn't do enough. With the Seahawks, they're just really good at the quarterback thing. People don't want to give them credit for it, but they are. I mean, they did it with Russell Wilson. They move off him. It's better to move off a guy a year too early than a year too late, I think. And, I don't think they moved off Russell Wilson a year too early, and I don't think they moved off Geno a year too early the way it looks. So, now you have Sam Darnold, and now it's like Seattle got out of that kind of Rams, Steelers category of having older quarterbacks. I mean, Darnold can hang around here and dominate the NFC West if the Rams aren't careful with their succession plan. So that's something that I don't think is talked about nearly enough. Like, if it's working, why would he, I wouldn't look at this like this is a 1 year thing or 2 years. Like, this could be for the long term. And he's a good quarterback and he's making great throws. And, he's up there in my MVP race, in my opinion. So, yeah, but I want to actually throw this at you because I was talking to a few 49er fans in Santa Clara about it. And then on my flight home, a really nice 49er fan was talking to him. And I actually think, before, with all the injuries and everything, we could talk about the medical and all of that. They just, whatever. But the training staff, which this guy explained to me, they've gone through like 3 or 4 of them. The common denominator is Kyle Shanahan. So is that, are the practices too intense? Is the workload too intense? So I can tell you right now, Christian McCaffrey, his workload is insane. And he somehow isn't injured. So that's kind of my thing. I think, obviously use your talent, use your guys to try and win games. I get that. But I think there's a balance here. And I just think that guys like Sean McVay, guys like McDonald are doing it the right way. Whereas currently, I think the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, I think that might actually be part of the issue. But again, I understand you're going through a lot of injuries, but we talk about this every single year with this team. At some point or another, that's just who you are. So, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, no, I think it's a great point on your part in that this is something that is an issue for them. It's been an issue for many years, going back. And I do think that, and I look at our two teams and how we put things together, when I look at the offense in particular, yes, you have the quarterbacks doing what they're doing. And yeah, you got Devonte you brought in there, but it's also okay, we've given the contract to Colby Parkinson recently. We've also gone out there and drafted a Ferguson. Let's take that and put that in comparison to the Niners with their tight end situation. You got Kittle, and Tongas has had some catches here and there this year, but I mean, nobody's going, yeah, Tongas, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of ride it all on this one guy at the forefront of the ship. This Christian McCaffrey you mentioned. You've got no real backup. You let Jordan Mason walk, and then now you're going to have McCaffrey roll. You trade for Robinson, but they just want to just roll McCaffrey basically in the ground, and they don't go to. Whereas with that, you've got Corm's going to get some touches there behind Kyron. There's even you even get a third mix in there, and that there's going to be a bit of a load balance. I think that the thing with Shanahan that I see, and you saw this with Deebo Samuel, because I think he closed down Deebo earlier than what he would have by overusing him for like a couple year period, that playoff run that they had in the conference championship against the Packers, where he had like freaking 30 touches, it felt like, in that game.
Oh yeah.
Receiver, like, what do you, I think Shanahan just blows guys out, and he just can't help himself a little bit with that.
No, I definitely agree with that. And I think when you're looking at these two teams right now, even if the 49ers were healthy, I don't think they're better than either of these two teams. I just don't. And that kind of brings us to what the Seattle Seahawks just did to an Arizona Cardinals team that has been in every single game this year, and they just beat them senseless. And, with the Rams, they've been in those close games against good teams, the Colts, the Eagles, the Niners in week 5, and now here they are, and they beat them senseless. And I think really now here we are going to week 11, we kind of know who's good and who's not, right? And there's not a lot of good teams in this league. There's just not. I still feel in my heart of hearts this is going to be Chiefs versus the Rams, Seahawks, or Eagles in the Super Bowl. And by the way, the Eagles don't impress me at all, but they're similar to the Chiefs in that they can just find ways to win in the most ugly fashion. Whereas the Rams and Seahawks, that's who America wants to see in the Super Bowl, because they're actually going to be fun to watch. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So, it'll be funny though. Like if it is the Eagles and Chiefs by somehow, how people, obviously nobody will be excited for that, but the media will be like, oh, we get a Super Bowl rematch between two teams that one blew out the other. Like, Yeah. So
I'm with you on it too. Watching that game last night, both of those two teams, the Packers are just as ugly as the Eagles are. They shouldn't be. They've got more cooler parts. Like they should be way more funner to watch, but both of those two teams were boring, and the Packers have been boring throughout this year.
Yeah.
I've mentioned it. I don't know if you've looked at it since I mentioned it a couple weeks ago on the roundtable with Love, and I don't know if you watched it last night.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is to the first read.
Yes.
Everything is to the first read. Everything is to the pre-play designed. And if it doesn't go there, he's a lost dog in the park who can't find his owner.
No, you're absolutely right. 100%. And, I think the problem I had with the Packers is that they became way too Tucker Kraft dependent. And then they got even more Tucker Kraft dependent this year. And you're seeing it like, Jaden Reed has been dealing with issues. And of course, Christian Watson's never healthy, right? So Romeo Doubs, who's like your possession guy, like a really good 3 on a team, is not your number 1 receiver. So what does that put you? You don't have a guy that's really stretching the field. Josh Jacobs can only do so much. And I look at that Packers team and the whole argument for them when they're really high in the standings or, really high in those power rankings that are useless. They're high because they got Micah Parsons. They're high because that defense is really good. But we're watching the same thing in Houston. They just don't have the record the Packers do. But Houston and Green Bay are very similar in that aspect. I would say Houston's probably a better team when fully healthy. But watching last night, it really goes to show you that there are a lot of teams that have a big name, the big organization, big franchise, and it doesn't feel like fans always catch up quick enough. Like, hey, this Packers team, wake up, because Brandon and I have been saying this Packers team isn't that good. They lost to Joe Flacco and the Browns. They almost lost to Joe Flacco and the Bengals. This is not a good Packers team. This is a team that'll probably skeet into the playoffs. Their big win was against the Lions, who I also think are overrated. This is why I came to the conclusion. I really do believe it's the Rams, it's the Seahawks. And what's really funny to me, not that PFF is the Bible or anything, because it's not. But when you look at the PFF grades, it's actually been very, predictive for who goes to the Super Bowl and who wins the Super Bowl. And typically speaking, 9 of the last 10 seasons, the number one team in their rankings of overall has gone to the Super Bowl. The only team that was not in that top 10 was the Kansas City Chiefs. That's it. So, yeah. But the Rams are number one right now at 93.6. The Seahawks are 92.9. And if you look, they're like, the Seahawks have an elite special teams. The Seahawks have a really good defense. The Rams have a really good offense, obviously, with Seattle. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going for both teams. That's my thing, man. When you look, it's like, I don't need this to know what I'm watching. And this is why I got on the Seahawks about 3 weeks ago as a team that's like legitimately going to be a problem. And I can't believe this is a 4:05 game.
I know, man. I the fact that this didn't get flexed or they just didn't find a way. I mean, I know that you can't do the Monday night thing, but like just find a way, NFL, with these type of things, because that this is on the middle of the afternoon, it does kind of suck. This one should be with all the eyes on. And they mentioned last night in the telecast, I thought it was good too, is that regardless how this game goes out, regardless of how the game goes later on down this season, to your point on this, wouldn't be the least bit surprising we get to the end of the road on this, who's in the division, who's in the wild card, that these two teams ends up potentially even playing each other for that conference title again, something they mentioned last night on the telecast. And that's also something that wouldn't surprise me, because I think you've touched on it. These are the teams that have risen up in the NFC, and the football to me is so much about you're baking. You don't want to start out at your best. You're trying to build. And a guy like McVay knows how to do this with so many times around the block, and it's a timing thing, right? How to push the team just hard enough, how to have them at the peak at the right point. And you do feel like with both these teams that they're moving into their peak at the right time of year. Not only are they differentiating themselves from some of the rest of the NFC, but they're playing at their best level of the season. And then there's still some more room above that this isn't the topping off for them, that there's still another, if not gear, even more level of good play above this. You feel that way too?
No, absolutely. I think you said it best. I mean, I said it on the roundtable, and Jesse gave me props on his show immediately. The Rams have reinvented their offense halfway through the year. They are now heavily relying on 13 personnel. They told us so today. Not just the fact that they're dominating the entire league in 13 personnel usage the last 3 weeks since Puka Nacua got hurt. They took advantage of that. But also, they just went out and got Nick Muse, who is an athletic, strong tight end, to put him on the practice squad. And what that tells me, it's a little detail that I think people will overlook and be like, why are we talking about practice squad guys? It tells you they just let go of their long snapper, who they've been developing. He's no longer going to be on the team. They didn't add him to the practice squad. They added a tight end. When you're running 13 personnel 50% of the time, this past week against the 49ers was the most 13 personnel usage since 2016. So there you go. But when you're running it that much, now you're using all 4 guys and you're rotating them in between 3 spots. Well, now one of those guys gets hurt, and now your depth can be hit because you want to still be able to run that 13 personnel grouping. So adding Nick Muse tells me they're going to continue doing this, and they want to do it at the clip they're doing. And they realize if we do it at the clip we're doing, I mean, I don't know if you saw the snap count. It was pretty wild. Puka Nacua, Devonte Adams didn't have much more snaps. I understand the blowout script was there, but they didn't have much more snaps than like Davis Allen. That's how crazy that whole 13 personnel is. So yeah, I really like it because it forces Sean McVay now, hey, something worked, stick with it. And you're having so much success. And it's so funny because if you were to, run your offense in Madden, for instance, and you're like, find me an offense that can score 30 plus a game. Are you ever running 13 personnel in Madden? No way, right? You're not. No. That's not fun. You're going to go empty set, 5 wide, right? Use a running back. Like, no. Like, they're using 13 personnel. They're spacing you out, and they have guys that can block, all 4 of them, because Terrence Ferguson's made significant strides. Parkinson, they signed because he can block. You got Higbee, who's a good blocker, and Davis Allen has made, significant strides as well. And then these guys are athletic after the catch, and they can break tackles. And, Keep in mind, 13 personnel, you still have a receiver and a running back out there. So it really gives Stafford kind of a boatload of options. And then, of course, you can't just run it with any quarterback. Matthew Stafford's pinpoint accurate, and, he can throw no looks and get all sorts of spacing and everything. We saw that Parkins. It was wide open because of the fact that he was staring down a receiver, and the 49ers apparently have never watched tape on him before. But there you go. And Brandon, that's what gets me so excited about the Rams offense. The defense we already knew was there. And, now 49er fans think the defense sucks because they allowed 26 points when really that last touchdown was garbage time, if we want to be honest. But also they think it sucks because they don't really play that well against the 49ers. They just play more so that bend don't break because they know they can score as much as they want. But that defense is capable of stepping up and making big time plays. And now you have the offense, and now the special teams unit, they're starting to actually, make extra points, right? It's looking like it's all coming together at the right time. And I see Seattle doing the same damn thing because, you look at the 49er fans talking about week one. Well, that Seattle team is a lot different than the one you're going to see this weekend. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's when we talked about in the roundtable before the start of the year where Nate Tice had brought this up and it really captured my eye at the time, and it had me really looking into it deep, which was that he was anticipating this year the NFL was going to set a record for 12 and 13 personnel usage for at least the last 15 to 20 years and what it has been used in the past, where everything has gone spread conceptually and 3 wide receiver looks. And so what you wanted to be was one of those teams on the forefront of that. You want to be on where the cutting edge right now is of the NFL, and it changes year by year, and it's cylindrical, and it could be this year, this, and this. Next year, maybe it's back to 3 wide receivers, right? But this year and the upcoming year, it was about those teams that could embrace that, and embracing that meant you had the personnel to be able to bring those sets out. You talk about Muse on the practice squad having the reinforcement, but it's also adding on to starters you already had. You guys had Higbee there. You guys had signed Colby Parkinson to a good contract. Did not then slow you down the least to making a second round selection after you'd given up your first round pick to the Atlanta Falcons, which we're going to effing get to. But
let's go.
You guys still come back and go and get Darren Terrace at Ferguson is essentially then your third tight end on that spot. Likewise, Seattle did something very similar because there's so many mirroring parts to these two teams from the 13 personnel, but you've got to make that selection ahead of time. What I'm trying to say with this is that your Rams and Seahawks on this, they saw that this is where the league's going trend wise and bring that body in. So much like with Ferguson and Royal, that they haven't been maybe hyper used a lot, they're stacked on the depth chart a little bit. You run the ball a lot. The opportunities are just not necessarily there for those guys. But the key is these teams wanted to be able to run these personnel fronts at a high rate, as high a rate as you'll see in the NFL, because they could see this is where you can do damage in the league right now.
Yeah, and the funny thing as well is that I wonder if, well, obviously it's a copycat league. We're definitely going to see this change next year. The two things I want to bring up about this 13 personnel, okay? The first thing, defenses are not built to stop this. When you do something like you make that drastic of a change in the middle of the season, the defenses haven't adjusted. If this is a new trend, they're not ready. They don't have the personnel grouping to match up with that. That's number one. And number two, when it comes to the 13 personnel grouping, you have, in a lot of ways, there are elite tight ends everywhere. There's a Trey McBride, there's a Brock Bowers, there's a George Kittle, there's a Travis Kelce. You don't need that. You don't. If you have 4 guys that are equally as good, obviously don't have this logic, when you're playing fantasy football and you trade 4 crappy tight ends for George Kittle, you're not going to get that trade, accepted. But it works in the NFL where you can have 4 guys. The Rams are really scoring it in the box score. They're not looking at individual performances for tight ends. They're scoring their entire tight end room. That is how they are looking at it. Like our tight end room today had 140 yards, 8 catches, 2 touchdowns. That's a great day at the office. Did George Kittle just do that in the 49er game? Yeah, he did. But we like what we have, and those guys being able to do all of that, all 4 of them, it's putting different things out there on film that other teams have to focus on. Because if you overcompensate and you overexert, the attention on the tight ends, well, now I got Puka Nacua. Now I got Devonte Adams. Now I got Kyron Williams, right? So there are different things that the Rams can really do. And it's been fun to watch because they don't have their deep threat in Tutu Atwell. So I think we've seen them. It's not just a Puka Nacua thing. Tutu Atwell being out has kind of forced them to want to stay away from 11 personnel like they normally would. And now we're seeing 13 at a ridiculous clip. And I'm excited. And I think, obviously you can attest to it as well. I know you guys don't run it that much, but you have tight ends that are exciting. We saw what Arroyo did, on that one-on-one, coverage where he just absolutely takes the top off the defense on that play. And then you see what A.J. Barner's done after the catch, especially in the red zone. And this is what I'm talking about is like, this is where the people who just love the sport of football are going to enjoy this and not whine and complain that, oh no, my fantasy football tight end didn't catch a touchdown, or oh no, that doesn't help my bet. The great thing about this is just straight up football. It's not a rugby scrum. There's nothing, there's no special trap card play that only one team can really run. Anyone can run this, but it's going to take execution. It's going to take the right personnel. And I'm excited because this is going to start a trend. It's like you said with Nate Tice. I do believe he was onto something. The Rams were going heavy 12 personnel to start the season. They weren't having as much success. So now they've gone to 13 personnel, and they are. I think a lot of teams are going to copy that. And it's going to be fun to watch because, hey, we've seen teams copy the tush push, and not everybody can do it, right? We've seen teams copy, the Sean McVay, like you said, more college spread offense, using the pistol and all of that, and they don't do it that well. So it's a matter of, I think, like every year, Brandon, you can have the formula, but if you don't have the right guys to cook, it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm excited because it's going to weed out the rest of the league. But I know that there are going to be a lot of teams that try and copy this moving forward.
There will. And you're right. We definitely haven't done as much of the 13, though we've been living a bit more in the 12. And I think that both sort of accomplish somewhat of the same thing as to why they're working, because defenses for that past 10-year period have been driving to live in nickel, driving to live where your slot essentially is out there on the field almost 24/7 or 75% of the time. You go to two tight ends, and I'm funny watching this even in the game now where it's just become standard this year. We were last couple of years getting to a point where 3-4 base defenses were kind of leaving the sport because of the nickel, because of 4-man fronts. That was the guy that was then removed, the extra guy in that line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And now even watching your guys last week, both sides of the ball, your Rams and the Niners both, with the 12-13, bringing back out the old 3-4 looks. It's going back to old school football, but backing into your point on not preparing, you can bring out your 3-4 personnel, but do you really have that linebacker there that both can be a good run stopper and then cover those dynamic tight ends that move really well in space? Probably not, because you've been putting all of your putting it all on them, getting the good slot and getting the good personnel for nickel as much. And that's where I think so smart to hit in this way, because that's why you're hitting these teams. They just don't have the personnel to be able to deal with it. So they just stack everything up. Like I'm looking at your Rams, you're dealing with the same thing we are, where their defenses are just taking the same page, where they're like, okay, stack up the box and then blitz on top of it. Like they're blitzing Stafford. Like something I can't understand at all. Like who's coming to this point, but this is to me the desperation of it from their standpoint is because they're stacking and they're blitzing, and we're getting the same thing: high stack box rates, high blitz rates. And I feel like this is the defense is kind of almost a little desperate in their attacking because it's one note. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing every week, but for me, it's like the same note. It doesn't matter if you have a different defense week in, week out, you're getting that same thing over and over again.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's so funny you mention that because there were people complaining about Gifford, but for the 49ers, it's like, well, I mean, this is new. What are you supposed to do? You're throwing guys in, you're trying to fit, square pegs into round holes. And it's like that's the thing. And I mean, it led me to the point where I was like, I don't even know if the 49ers bought, like Kyle Shanahan himself, I don't even know if he bought that Sean McVay was going to run 13 personnel against him. I think he was assuming that's like, oh, I'm Kyle Shanahan. I know Sean McVay is going to overthink things, and then he's going to go away from what's working. And he's not doing that. And that was really the thing. But to your point, you will only have what you have. And just because you have linebackers doesn't mean these linebackers are ready, for, like you said, going base. Like they're not meant for that. A lot of these guys now are 200 to 210. Like it's, and
seriously,
we've talked about
Bethune
it. They're getting run over.
Yeah. Tatum Bethune, the middle linebacker for Greenlaw, he was literally 210 pounds at the combine. I remember it stood out to me like, we're down to 210 on inside linebackers.
Yeah. It's crazy. But like we talked about this during the draft. This is the new age NFL. Well, guess what? It just takes one team to then be like, okay, I'll take your 210 and I'll match you up with my 265-pound tight end who now you have to cover in the flat. That's not just window dressing. He's running through your head. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just the reality of it. And that's what we're seeing. Like, I love when people are like, I didn't know Parkinson could throw a stiff arm. Yeah, well, when a 210 guy is trying to attack his hip, his shoulder pocket or whatever, he's going to go around and, yeah, I mean, that's what happens, And again, we get so caught up in fantasy football and Madden ratings and all of that, not you and I, but just in general, that we forget that these guys are in the NFL for a reason. I mean, Nick Muse he had a 1.63 10-yard split. If you get him wide open, he's hauling in a touchdown, right? Like, it doesn't matter that his name isn't George Kittle or Travis Kelce or Trey McBride. And that is the beautiful thing about football. And when you're playing all of that, because you can get guys involved, like, they don't have to have a crazy name. I mean, no one was like, oh, Jake Bobo, but like Jake Bobo was catching touchdowns. You know what I mean? When he first came in the league. So that's just the reality of it. If guys can create separation, they can get open, they can break tackles, they have good vision, they block. Well, they can get on the field and they can make plays just as much as anyone else can.
Oh boy, amen. They can just find talented guys, and you do think too with this 12 and 13 personnel. By the way, I think it's something too when we get into the winter months and it's getting cold, and these are also the type of formations that work very well in inclement weather. In addition, versus let's say the pass happy spread concepts where it's hard to complete balls in cold weather and wet weather and windy weather, and this could also be something that helps us out come playoff time. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Matt Stafford, one of your favorite subjects. And that I was looking at it and I thought it at first, and then I went and looked, and I love the projections ESPN does with players that you can see, where they're at, and they project it out for the full season.
Oh, yes.
Is Matt Stafford having the best season of his career?
Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. Because it's not just the stats, and the stats back it up, but you're just seeing a guy who I thought Bill Belichick did a really good job of explaining this. He's wise beyond his years, but he's old. Like, he's 37. So he was wise behind his years his whole career, and now he's 37. So think about how wise he is now. He's seen it all. And he was in a bad situation for half of his career, more than half of his career. So he knows he's literally been in every scenario, good or bad, on top of the mountaintop or, in 6 feet under, right? So literally. So that's the thing, is that now Stafford knows like what he can do, what he can't do. And man, there's still some things he can do. He is not great running straight line or even running running horizontally. But I'll tell you right now, he can put his foot in the ground and he can like make cuts. He back juked the hell out of one dude in the Saints game. I think it was Cam Jordan. He had like a wide open, like free runner opportunity at Stafford. He just back juked him and dude went flying in your living room. Stafford is like sneaky athletic in the pocket. Like, he's not like a scrambler, because if he was, I think he'd get more love. I think guys who run get more credit. That's what I believe, because I think that people love the dual threat quarterback. But the thing is, Stafford's making plays that cannot be replicated in a video game. They don't have animations for some of the throws he's making. They don't have animations for some of the catches Puka Nacua has to make, right? He's throwing it only where guys can get it. And it's so funny to me that David Lombardi with the 49ers coverage comes out and he says, there's always, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically he tweeted, he was like, Stafford's always going to throw the ball to you. You have to make sure that you pick it off. I think that's total BS, because we're acting like Stafford gave the 49ers chances. Stafford roasted your defense over an open flame back-to-back games. Like, if the Rams wanted to, I think they just wanted to get Kyron some touchdowns, because last year Kyron got all the touchdowns and Stafford had 20 touchdowns last year. Yeah, Stafford had 20 touchdowns all of last year. He's 25 right now. This year, Stafford's getting the touchdowns in the red zone. They're actually letting him throw the football, and it's because of Devonte Adams. It's because of the tight ends, right? It's because of the 13 personnel. Stafford easily could have thrown for 5 touchdowns in this game. They could not stop him. They had everything in the book. When I'm watching him, the thing that makes Stafford so crazy is that I used to watch Jared Goff and Sam Bradford. When pressure got to them, they dirt the ball. Stafford, his way of dirting the ball is throwing it kind of ugly, but only where his receiver can get it, where he's like expecting, okay, if the receiver drops the pass, it is what it is. It's already near his legs. It's at his feet, whatever. But if he catches it, that's a first down. And he's doing that a lot. And that's another thing. The pressure's getting there. Like, this offensive line isn't amazing. It's just Stafford's been so good all year, no matter who is blocking. He's finding ways. Rob Havenstein got worked last week. I personally believe they should go back to Warren McClendon Jr., who played well. And Alaric Jackson has been struggling at left tackle. But it just doesn't matter to Stafford because that internal clock, being 37 years old, and he's always had a quick trigger. I mean, he just gets rid of the ball before you. And you could be right there, and he takes a ton of big hits, but he gets back up because he's the toughest SOB I've ever seen play this sport. So there you go.
Well, and I think I don't agree with Dave in any respect. And I know I brought this up to you before, and I think that Stafford, with where he's playing right now, is potentially, like we're saying, his best version, where even some of this stuff in the past may not be on as much display this year as much. Mm-hmm. My thing on this with Matt has been this, is if he's got a balanced running game and he throws it 30 times in a game, you ain't getting shit. Like, no. he's not throwing you a potential. Now, if you got to get into a game where he doesn't have the running game and he's got to go high volume in his passing approach, you will get a couple of opportunities because of his willingness to try to fit tight throws because he can trust his arm to do so. Yes. You will get a couple of opportunities. Doesn't mean 5, doesn't mean 9. It means like 1 or 2. And you got to reel those in when you get those opportunities. But it's not on the back of it happens every game. It's on the back of a high volume approach where he's up at like 40, 45 attempts, and you're going to get a couple in there. And you need to get those couple in there, my point on this being, because he's going to slay you on the other side of it with the other attempts.
Yeah.
Is that a bit of a fair outlook, would you say, on that? From
no, I think that's fair.
Just overall,
because he's a gunslinger. I mean, he plays like, well, and that's kind of goes along the point that Belichick made, is that he's become so smart and so capable that, like, even he can be a gunslinger and still sling it all over the yard and not worry about getting picked off and making bad decisions. And you're going to throw picks. It's going to happen. I mean, Stafford's due. You know, this is probably a game he'll probably throw a pick, right? It's a big game. You know, maybe you're trying to push it. I don't know, but you know, he's 25-2 right now. You know, he's definitely bound to throw an interception at some point. You know, but
well, let me give you the comparison back to the Rams game last year.
Yeah,
we get the one at home. We get the pick on Puka where Puka punches Woolen punches the guy after the play. You got the one pick there. Then there was 2 other opportunities in that game. There was the Ernest Jones drop that he had where he drops back and he just drops the pick, has it in his hands. He can't reel it in. Mm-hmm. And then we've got overtime with Tariq Woolen standing flat-footed, and he lets DeMarcus Lawrence undercut him. He's got the easiest interception in the world, just standing right there, would have finished the game. And he lets DeMarcus Lawrence undercut him right underneath. There was a game where you had your 3 opportunities. Stafford played good around that. 3 opportunities. You only made the 1 pick. You lose the game. But if you make one of those other 2 picks, to me, that's where that could have moved the needle on just that particular game in that way. And it'll be a little bit of the key for me this game. Stop the run to you guys, force him to get a high volume passing approach, and then maybe you can get your opportunities in there. It's not going to be easy on this. I'm not saying that, but that's the pathway a little bit to trying to take this Rams offense down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously, I would have rather him get his interception out of the way against the Saints. But I think it is coming, and it's not like anything negative against him. It's just, this is natural. This isn't natural to have 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions when you're throwing down the field as much as he is. It's just not. I think he saw like he had a 130 passer rating when targeting 20 yards, or that's insane. You know, so and this is the middle of the season too. So he hasn't thrown an interception since Philly week 3. Like, he's due, you know what I mean? I don't know if it'll come this week, but it does feel like he's due. The hope is that it doesn't happen in bunches, but he's also the first quarterback, and I can't even believe this has happened. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to have 4+ touchdowns in 3 straight games. I've never even, like, I would have assumed Brady would have had that, or like a Rodgers. Or, Peyton Manning. I was stunned to hear that. So, yeah. And it's certainly interesting because, again, Stafford is taking care of the football while Sean McVay isn't really taking his foot off the gas either. They were still throwing deep down the field when they had a comfortable lead against the Niners. They were up 21-0. They didn't really run the ball as much as maybe they should have. I mean, Kyron Williams had 13 carries or 14 carries, and Blake Corum had 13. In a game where they couldn't stop him on the ground either. Kyron had 73 yards on 14 carries and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the big thing for the Seattle game is this. It's the run game. Because what I watch when I'm watching Seattle is that a lot of these teams have to come up and stop the run. And the Rams have done such a nice job this year of dominating the run, which is, they did a really nice job last year. I just think, Saquon Barkley, those 2 big games had everyone believing they had this like terrible run defense, which I just don't believe they did. And now they've made extra adjustments because of the Saquon Barkley games, allowing over 400 yards in 2 games. And they've just dominated from the standpoint of it doesn't matter if it's, MVP candidate Jonathan Taylor, doesn't matter if it's Saquon Barkley, it doesn't matter if it's Christian McCaffrey. We're going to just completely take the run game out of it. So if Seattle can run against the Rams, that's uncharted territory. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the Rams haven't been in a game where a team's been able to run the football, and it's halfway through the year. So that would put them in a position where now it's like, oh, we're not really used to this. We saw a little bit. Brian Robinson got going. But at the same time, like the Rams were expecting him to throw it. And Kyle Shanahan just wanted to move the football. So, they're in this like light package and you bring in this battering ram and Brian Robinson Jr. and he's running over like I said, 200-pound DBs, so it'll be interesting because you have 2 guys that complement each other well. I think one guy's clearly better than the other in K9, and he can house one. But you got him, and then you got Charbonnet. I'm going to be very curious to see if they take anything from what the 49ers did, because they were completely out of the game. 49ers at no point in this game ever felt like they had a chance of winning it. But Seattle, if it's a close game and the Rams are, expecting them to go high octane passing attack and, you get them in kind of that lighter front, well, now I can bring in, a Zach Charbonnet, and I can test your DBs and be like, can you tackle me? Because they've been great tackling, but when they're in that position, I mean, we saw what Brian Robinson did last week. He even had a touchdown in that one. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. There are definitely some things to take away from what the 49ers did that I think Seattle could benefit from for sure.
It's really tough, too, as when you speak about the run, because the run game hasn't been great for the Hawks, but it has been not great to me from an explanation standpoint of the stack boxes. They have the second highest stack box rate in the NFL. They've been number 1 a lot of the year. I just think if you're getting stack boxes, you're not running against stack boxes. If guys are going to commit to putting 8 guys around the line of scrimmage, the way to beat that is you have to pass it. And Rams last week and watching the Niners, now they played them with you guys in the 3-4 looks, where there's a little bit of a loading up from your standpoint personnel wise with the base to say, yeah, we want to take this away and we're going to put the base out there to do that. Well, then that means you're going to have less guys on the back end. To me, this is where you just want to go downhill and not uphill. You want to stay committed to the run. And I think both your Rams team and my Hawks team do a good job of, even if we're not getting a lot of yards, they will stay back to finding some balance within that and making sure that they're keeping the defenses honest. But that's been the thing with Sam and why he's tearing things up and he's got so many throws down the field is it's just Seattle's going, okay, we can't run into that, but you're leaving all of this space. You're giving one-on-ones to Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, the Cardinals, again, you saw in that deep ball to Jackson last week. Again, like he's running up the field and you got a single eye safety and you don't roll the safety his way after all he's done so far this year. The guy's late to get there. Teams just seem to be unwilling to really put the bodies back in the back end. I don't think your Rams will do it either. I think they're going to trust their guys from the coverage on the side, but this has been kind of the one size fits all approach Seahawks offensively on every defense, because when we try to run, it's just like you feel it. It's like there's just too much congestion.
Yeah, it kind of takes me back to the last time they faced Sam Darnold in the regular season against the Vikings. And in that game, what they really didn't mind doing is letting Justin Jefferson just eat. Because they're like, you can get your yards, but if we shut down everybody else, we believe we're going to score enough where you're not going to be able to really do anything about it. And Justin Jefferson went for 8 catches, 115 yards in that game. But I think the big thing was like a Jordan Addison, 2 catches, 22. And then they couldn't run the ball with Aaron Jones. And it really put, like Darnold, his numbers looked really good and he played well. But when push came to shove at the end of the game, they were getting pressure on him. The offensive line was crumbling. And I think that's another thing is that, and that's also the interesting thing about these two teams, they're very similar in their pass rush because they just wear you down over the course of a game. Whereas a lot of other pass rushers out there, their pass rushes out there. They're going out. They want to find the most athletic guys, and they want to beat you with the speed and the athleticism. Why can't you have both? The Rams and Seahawks have athleticism, and they have just the straight up power game, in their rush. And it's like taking body blows all, match, Brandon. Eventually, you're going to fall to the ground, and people are going to be like, he didn't hit him in the face. How did he knock him out? It's like, well, he took 100 shots to the sternum. That's how he knocked him out. So, yeah, it's one of those things for sure. But I tend to go back to that 30-20 game against the Vikings, and how they managed. Obviously, we could talk about the playoff game. I'm going to be the first one to tell you, okay? Cam Robinson cost Sam Darnold so much money. I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that he was one of the worst left tackles I've ever watched, ever. So I think we're more likely to get Sam Darnold the first time he played the Rams at SoFi than the time they played in Arizona in the playoffs. And I hope Rams fans are aware of that, or they're going to be very disappointed, because this is going to be a game that you have to sweat out. This is going to come down to the wire. These are the two best teams in the league. It could go either way. But I think the whole opportunity of you let Justin Jefferson do his thing. I think you got to let Jackson Smith and Jigba do his thing. I think the big thing about Justin Jefferson in that game is they didn't allow the big play. And that, I think, he'll eat up the yards. Fantasy owners are happy about it and everything. But when push came to shove and they needed a big play at the end of the game, that wasn't there. The Rams took that away. So we'll see how they decide to go about it, because I am not ignorant to the fact that JSN went for over 200 yards last year against the Rams.
Could have been 260 too. I think he had a play wiped off.
He was insane, and I have a ton of respect for him. I think it's a battle between the two best teams and the two best receivers right now. Truthfully, so
I think that's fair. And you do have right now, of course, Puka just doing what he's doing, and boy, that guy's so tough. And he's gotten dinged up a couple times this year. Doesn't miss a beat. Gets right back out there. Yeah. Can you speak a little bit to the impact of Devonte Adams? I know it's keeping your guy Jordan Whittingham off the field and his breakout, but how have it feels like he's getting acclimated better and better, more and more every week. And I just felt like you guys had free money with the dig route or the in-cutting routes all game long to Devonte in that 49er game.
You're right. It's always there. It's like that 20-yard dig that he runs. He's just wide open every play. And it's like Stafford's like, do I want to get him the 20 yards, or do I want to go for the 40 with Nacua? Or do I want to just dump it off here and maybe get 40 from this slip screen? I mean, that's the thing. So Devonte is exactly why I came off as a bit of a hater, and I guess not appreciative of Cooper Kupp enough. That wasn't my intention. I saw them trying to put him in a role that he didn't belong in. And I saw them essentially forcing it to Cooper Kupp, trying to do right by him when they knew it wasn't working. And they're paying him all that money. And the Rams haven't had a true X receiver like Devonte Adams. Since Torrey Holt. I mean, you could argue Brandon Cooks added that, but as far as the guy that can go up in that red zone, the tight area, and just be on the same page as your quarterback. He can go up and high point the football. He can box out defenders and catch that back shoulder fade. Brandon Cooks wasn't doing that. They tried it, and it was not great. Devonte Adams does that. It's like big game Torrey Holt. That's what I feel like I'm watching. When I watch Devonte Adams in the red zone, I'm like, oh, this is like watching Torrey Holt catch touchdowns in the red zone. And it's just automatic. I mean, he's got 9 touchdowns. He's got, 6 the last 3 games. They go to him because they know they can cash in. It was funny because the 49ers were ready for it. So what they do, they put Nacua out. They put Devonte in the slot, and then they have Nacua run underneath, running across like a slant, and it totally broke up the communication. Adams is wide open for a touchdown. And those are the things that you can do because now you have Nacua and Adams, right? And then you got Stafford who's pinpoint accurate. But Devonte Adams has provided a true X receiver that changes the game. And a lot of teams in the league don't have a Puka Nacua or a Devonte Adams. But when you have them both, and you have the MVP of the league right now in Matthew Stafford, arguably, I don't know if it's arguable, but you get my point. That's what we're dealing with, Brandon. This is why I was like, I love Cooper Kupp. I appreciate Kupp. But since the ankle issue started to pile on, the tightrope surgery, which scared the hell out of me in 2022, because people forget, by the way, after the Super Bowl season, Kupp was still Cooper Kupp. And then he had the tightrope surgery after the ankle issue in that Cardinals game in the middle of the year in 2022, did not come back the same. He might have 100 yards here and 100 yards there. He had a really good game against the Patriots. But the reality is he's not the same player. And now you're trying to force him to be your X receiver last year. And that's just not conducive to getting what you want to get done. Whereas Adams just provides this role that like you've been looking for. And I feel like this is why the offense, I mean, I said this is the best iteration of the Sean McVay Rams. I meant it. This is the best offense the Rams have ever had. And it's only getting better. And they're ahead, by the way. Point differential, they're ahead by like 50 points of where the Super Bowl 2021 team was at this point in the season.
That's incredible. It's been, I think you bring up some fair points with him being an X in Kupp, because Kupp here, I was worried about him coming in the same problem you guys ran into last year with the redundancy of Puka and Kupp at the same time, both being mainly slot guys that can do some outside stuff here and there. And with him coming here, I was worried about that with JSN, because JSN had been the slot guy, but JSN made the transition this year wildly to an outside receiver. He's doing that 80% of the time now. So Kupp has been allowed to then slide into the slot where he's naturally well suited, and he's done great. We've been very happy with Cooper Kupp. I don't think that he's like shot spent spider. People might look at his stats and go, we'll see with the stats. This is just a representation of the fact that he's much less than he ever was. And it's just like, no, we're not passing the ball. We threw the ball 12 times last week. We're like 32nd in the NFL in passing attempts right now. I mean, that's legitimately. So there's just not the target share, because JSN's taking 50% of the damn target share of the offense about in passing. There's only 50% left for the rest of the Arroyos and Barners and Kupps and Hortons and
people don't get that. I already saw in one of my leagues, they're trading Barner. Like, oh, Barner got me 0 points. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, tight ends, especially in like fantasy football, they get like nothing. They're so touchdown dependent. And Barner, I mean, he's a good player, man. He's a real good player. I like him and Arroyo. Wasn't sure what you guys were doing when you got rid of Noah Fant. Now I get it.
Yeah, Fant's just a guy that I think that there's some questions from my standpoint with him. I don't know if you get this sense sometimes watching certain guys, but there are guys I watch on the field where I go, I don't know if he loves the game.
I do, because everyone was obsessed with him coming out of the draft, and they said he was better than Hawkinson. And I was like, I don't get where you're getting that from. Like, Fant doesn't block like Hawkinson, and he definitely doesn't love the game like Hawkinson. You can tell. So
there's no fire there, man. There's some guys that get out there. I just don't.
As a tight end, how the hell do you come out of Iowa and not have fire? I don't understand.
I don't know. How do you struggle as a blocker coming out of Iowa as a tight end?
Wow,
all those guys come in freshman year. It seems like they learn how to do it. You know.
I know. George Kittle once told me, if you can't block, you can't play at Iowa. They will not let you on the field. I was like, okay, I guess they made an exception for Noah Fant.
He's like he's just so athletic. Plus, I think they had a good blocking tight end there at the time, wasn't it? It was Hawkinson was there. What was the other?
It was Hawkinson. Yeah,
it was Hawkinson. So they had the other guy that was like able to get the dirty work done, so he could do all the pretty stuff, I guess. Better get to a couple
held back.
George
Kittle. And then the 49ers drafted him 2 rounds earlier than George Kittle. I will never understand. That was stupid then. Now there's not even a word for how stupid it is now.
Well, and this has taught us with tight ends when they come out that you cannot just get caught up on productivity with tight ends in college either, and that you've got to do a lot more of an imagination game at play and how you look at him. I mean, Ferguson, Arroyo are both representations of it. One of these guys were amazingly productive in college, like they were just lighting the world on fire. But you just have to kind of see the vision in it and understand within that how the utilization worked at the college. We missed out on Kittle too. We were going to pick him right after the Niners in that 5th round as well. So that's also one that's been a little bit of a bitter pill for Hawk fans as well, because we came that.
I wanted him in the 2nd round, Brandon. That was one of my all-time draft crushes. I remember watching him block, and I was like, I'm watching The Blind Side. I'm watching the damn Blind Side, where he picks the guy up and just blocks him off the field. That's what I felt like I was watching. I just never had been so sold on a tight end, and I couldn't believe that Sean McVay, who just seemed like that would be the guy he was into, went with Gerald Everett over him. I'll just never understand that. I liked Everett, but I didn't like him as much as Kittle. But yeah.
No.
We could go on and on and on about
he got one of your Rams last week too, didn't he? In Pass Pro, I think. He he dusted somebody up on a pancake last
He
week.
always does. He's so good.
Yeah.
It's like people don't realize, even because, again, like how stat driven everything is. Kittle could have 0 catches, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns, right? But he'll have like 5 impact blocks that are like, that's like the equivalent of having freaking Quentin Nelson out there. And you don't even have to have another you don't have to have another offensive lineman. You just have a tight end that can move like that. He blocks guys like he's Quentin Nelson.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
100%, I believe so.
Yeah, I kind of feel like he is too, for the same reasons you bring up, and that you cannot look statistically. You got to look at his impact as a blocker, the running game of the Niners throughout his time there, the pass protection, and as a lineman, blind side block, that type of stuff. So,
no, he's got 7,564 yards. He'll have close to 9,000 by the end of his career. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't be. I guess he's not considered a Hall of Famer according to PFR, but I think
it's in there. Reputationally wise, he'll get in there, I think.
I think they also heavily focus on like rings too. So in their like metric. So, I mean, if you look at the receiving yards, Kittle is 500 below the average Hall of Fame touchdown or Hall of Fame tight end. And he's got 9 touchdowns, fewer than the average Hall of Fame tight end. And he's not retiring right now. Like, he's still got time. So yeah, I think he'll be there.
How many of those guys didn't block a lick, by the way? How many of some of those guys with more yards didn't block?
And that has to be part of it, because like the only one who is really like far ahead of Kittle for like games played is Rob Gronkowski, 128. Kittle has 118, I believe. And he's like right there. I mean, Zach Ertz has 8,433 receiving yards, 57 touchdowns, but he's played in 178 games. Like, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know if he is. I don't think he is. I don't look at Zach Ertz like he's a Hall of Famer. I don't look at Jimmy Graham like he's a Hall of Famer. Greg Olsen loved him. I don't know if I would say he's a Hall of Famer. Rob is 100% a Hall of Famer. Kelsey is 100% a Hall of Famer. He's also played 184 games to, George Kittle's 118. So, yeah. I think the big thing for Kittle will be health, because he is 32. He just turned 32. If he could play until he's 36, he could maybe get to 10,000 yards. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, even
that
if
would
he's
be
9,
huge.
He should get in. He should get into 9 even. Those guys.
I agree.
And Graham, they don't block like he does. They're not in the vicinity of him.
Totally agree. 9 gets him in for sure. 10 is like some you have some padding there.
Yeah, that gets you comfortably in there.
Yeah.
I think the writers get him in though. The writers sometimes on this will overlook that type of stuff, and I think it'll be enough with him on that to edge him in. I better get to a couple of these donos. We're 20 deep here. Mungles, thank you for the $2 donation. Says whoever wins or loses still hurts the Niners. There we go.
It's true.
Is that how that works? Yeah. Well, it's definitely the Niners are I think at the spot where the gas is about to run out of that tank. I think
it does feel like they're already giving them a win. Have you seen that? 49er fans are like, yeah, we're going to beat Arizona. David was saying, they're going to beat Arizona. They'll be favored in every game moving forward. They'll be fine. It's like, I have the 49ers making the playoffs, but why are we just assuming Arizona's chopped liver?
Yeah. I mean, and Jacoby's playing pretty good right now as a quarterback, man. He
is.
It was not an easy game. He got set up this last week. And I know we got out ahead of them and it just got a little crazy, but I mean, to me, that's going to be a tough battle for the Niners. And that team is just so weakened right now from an injury standpoint. I think it's a close game, man. And division games are already that anyway. So, whoever wins, loses, the Niners, it always feels good, at least no matter if you lose the Rams, at least the Niners or we can buy. That's always a good thing. Thank you, though, Mungles. Appreciate the dono. Stockton Slap, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, I think Brandon needs to do his show while drunk.
I don't think so.
There is a famous show I have amongst the Hawks fans, and it's of the game where Russell got his finger broken by Darnold. And that post game, I decided to get drunk because that was the end of the era. I knew that was the end of the Carroll era, the Russell era. It was all coming basically. It wasn't that was like those guys were going to be gone after that point, but it was like basically it just happened. So I was kind of bored, but I got pretty slammed on that one. I was doing ad reads, sloppy drunk by the end. And yeah, if you guys can search that one, good luck if you find it. But I did it once, Stockton. People loved it, but I don't know if I'll do another one. Appreciate the dono. Feed Me, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, Jake, since you're my second favorite, you know you can do me a slight favor when you see AJ Barner in the tush push. It's called the barnyard, if you describe it. Thank you. That's right.
I appreciate you. Feed me more. I will definitely make a note of that.
More effective than the Eagles, dude. More effective than the Eagles at the tush push with the barnyard.
They don't even do it. Like, they just get to have illegal formations out the wazoo. That's why I hate when they've just gotten to the point. I mean, Tyler Steen, when it's just this guy who's just constantly doing it, come on. Could you just like flag him just off the fact that you know he's always going to do it? Like, I'd be throwing a flag now every time because I'd be like, all right, Tyler Steen, we already know he was offsides. So he false started.
Well, I see them hitting other teams for the offsides with that, to your point. Other teams run the tush push and they do the same thing, and then they do call it to them on them.
Yeah.
But then the Eagles kind of just get the benefit of getting away with it. We're one of the most successful teams doing this year. I remain principled in my approach on it. I don't think it's a good football play. I think that it takes an exciting part of the game out that could be there. And I'd like to see it eliminated myself when it's all said and done, but we'll take advantage of it right now. He comes out there. I start doing my moo sounds and my rooster sounds, and barnyard's about to open up.
Oh my God.
But thank you, Phoebe. Appreciate it. You guys don't run Stafford with his back doing that, do you?
Oh, hell no. Are you kidding me? They did it once, and I was just like, mind you,
hold my breath.
Stafford got hurt, was it not last year? It was 2023 because they did the Philly special, and Tutu Atwell threw the ball so and he was a former quarterback, and he's thrown it well before. He threw the ball so far to the ground, Stafford had to like lift it up, and he already had a bad finger and just like totally mangled his finger. And we had to start Brett Rippin in the Packers game.
Oh, Lordy.
It was the worst. Oh, he was the worst I've ever seen.
Do you guys just bring out, do you do like us then? Do you bring out a specialist and just have him take the snap? Or
they never do the tush push. Typically what they'll do, because they, on average, if they are on fourth down, they're averaging a 4th and 2 every time. So they'll either do an end around to Puka Nacua, although they might shy away from that after the injury that he got against the Saints doing that. But they like to do the end around. They did in the Super Bowl with Cooper Kupp. They will go bootleg. I think really they want the ball to go to Nacua because I think he's so reliable in those moments that I think they really just, and the Rams are psychos, man. They'll go out and empty on 4th and 2. And like you're at a disadvantage because Stafford isn't going to run. So what they'll do is they'll go out and empty, and Kyron Williams will be on the outside, and then he'll come in if they feel like they need extra protection. But if they don't, then he'll stay out there and they'll hit him on a quick slant, or they'll like have Stafford look this way, and then he'll come back and he'll have like Nacua draped all over, and he'll make the catch and move the chains. Like that's normally how it goes.
Makes sense. It works. If it's working, keep it going.
Yeah.
Also the number 1 play action team in the NFL. So, you guys utilize that to the utmost as well. It's going to be very much how we play that play action this week and how we can read our pre-snap indicators. But you guys are great with that. I love play action, especially under center. It
looks like football. That's what I would say.
It does.
It just looks like football. I love play action so much. Stafford doesn't even like it. He doesn't like having his back to the defense.
They don't like to turn. I know. They all bitch and moan about it, Jake, but I'm just like, get over it. It's so effective. I know you don't like it.
Yeah, he's gotten used to it. Like, he's really good in it that now it's like, okay, it's understandable. Like, if you were to have Jared Goff and be like, when you're no longer running play action, Goff would ask for a trade. He's so predicated on play action, it's insane. And there are a lot of quarterbacks like that prefer it. But like you said, there are ones that are
quick second, 1 second.
So, chat, how we doing? How we living? How we feeling? Appreciate everybody being in here. My guy Brando.
Sorry about that. Coming.
No, you're good. I was just talking with him a little bit, The show must go on,
The one thing that'll be interesting with the play action we've been doing in recent weeks with this, Jake, has been attacking the quarterback. Now, it's a little bit of what we've done with this also is that led in this game at times to, because we were up on points for like, well, if you want to run it. We're just going to go after you.
Yeah.
And that this is probably as much why Stafford doesn't like it, because if you do have a defense with an edge, it's like, I don't care about the run game. I'm just going to hit the quarterback in the face on the play action. You're holding that ball, you're dead to rights. There ain't nowhere to go, and you can't get rid of the ball, and you're turning around with a guy right in your face. But the upside of that is you can run the ball well. If we try to do that, that's going to open up the holes to the front side.
That's true. Yeah, I love their play action game. It's funny because like when you watch Stafford, like he just has that motion where he cocks back and he's about to throw it, and you just know somebody's gonna be wide freaking open. Most likely it's gonna be Devonte Adams on the dig, but the 20-yard dig that just, I don't know why, like they kind of cover it, but they also don't. But also when you play that zone defense against Stafford, like the soft zone, he's just going to throw it right in that zone pocket to Devonte Adams. I mean, who's just like the three guys around him. Rams run it too, so it's frustrating to watch on the Rams side as well. But yeah, I mean, that's what's going to happen. And you guys aren't a bad red zone defense, but you're not like great, right? Because the Rams have been utterly insane in the red zone.
Yeah, we're all right with it. I some of it's been that there's been opportunities where the offense a couple different times, like did this last game, put the defense on that short field where they're right there, in like the 6-yard line on a turnover. That's happened a couple freakish times, which I think has kind of moved the numbers on that. They've been overall, I think pretty good, but it's not that they certainly haven't been necessarily great to that side of it as far as red zone goes. So there'll be a good little fight there on that, and you guys will probably get your share in there when you get down there here and there, and we'll give as good as we get with it a little bit. But yeah, it's just, it's not elite down there. Stockton Slap, thank you for the $2 donation. He says Jake blocked me, so I sent such chats on Brandon's.
Didn't know such thing. I never blocked you. Now I can't confirm whether or not one of my moderators blocked you, but I personally did not block you. That is a lie.
There we go. There you go. Wait, hold on. Where's my where's
No, not this time. It's totally pure fiction. It's fiction.
Me, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, Jake, you like watching Wari on film?
Yeah, he's fun. It looks like you guys got like Kyle Hamilton back there. I mean, he's not Kyle Hamilton, but you can see what the vision is there. I always love that because when you can take, a coach from a certain circumstance, and this is kind of, it got ran into the ground, Brandon. I'm sure you heard it a million times when Sean McVay came over to the Rams, and everyone's like, he needs his Jordan Reed. He needs his Jordan Reed. He needs his Chris Thompson. And it's like, we heard it all the time, right? The difference is Jordan Reed was a good tight end, always injured. Chris Thompson was like a cool, like scat back. Kyle Hamilton might be the best safety in football, and he doesn't even really play safety, right? So, yeah, it's fun to watch. I mean, just the football fan in me, like I enjoy watching Seattle. They're a fun team. I don't enjoy watching last night. I don't enjoy watching the Eagles game. The Eagles are going to run predominantly a lot of their annoying, like, tush push, and their defense isn't as dominant as they've been in the past. And, the Packers, they're boring. Seattle's fun. Seattle's fun football. That's why I'm just like, we're going to get the Eagles and Lions on Sunday Night Football, and it sucks because that's just good enough to say, well, you can't really take that out of the Sunday night slot. But at the same time, there's no way you could tell me that's going to be a better game than this one. There's no way. It's not going to be more exciting. I can tell you that much. It's just not. So, and then you have Monday night, the stupid Cowboys and Raiders, although we know they wouldn't flex that anyway because just the viewership alone, even though the Cowboys are dog water and the Raiders are dog water, the fan bases, they wouldn't have even flexed that even if they could have.
Well, I think the Rams-Seahawks, to your point, would get better ratings than what we're going to get on Sunday night, even with the matchup of the Lions and Eagles. So, but
yeah,
just is what it is, I guess. Maybe the second matchup they'll flex out with us, right? Maybe that'll finally get around to that one.
On a Thursday night game.
Oh, it is a Thursday night game. Shoot, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, I guess not on that one.
Are you guys wearing the rivalries for that one?
I think we are. I want to say,
Okay.
which is weird because you guys are wearing the black for this, and we're not wearing the rivalry for this. So I can't keep up with all these.
It's so stupid. I get what they were doing, but I also just don't think it was smart. Like the whole point of the rivalries in my mind was that both teams would wear them at the same time.
Yeah.
Like to have, tune in this week when the Rams have it, and then the Seahawks have it this week, and then the Cardinals. It's like, and then on top of that, you have the midnight mode Rams uniforms, and you're wearing them in broad daylight.
Another reason to have I know tonight. It's just kind of strange. It's they're trying to sell jerseys, I guess, and it was.
I like it, but I don't. It should have been a primetime game.
Well,
Even
they made
Nike told you it should have been a primetime game.
Well, then Nike did their Oregon Duck thing to our jersey too. Knight had to Oregon Duck it up, which is I'm not a big fan of that either.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all, actually.
Stockton Slap, thank you for the $2 donation. It's sad. Rams are behind Philly for home field advantage.
I know. Especially sad.
They should have lost last night. Rams got to play in a division. Rams actually have to play legit teams in their division. Unlike the Eagles that just get to sit on their little backstroke and blow bubbles in the water as they go to win after win after win through the Giants and Washington and Cowboys.
It's so
God,
true.
that must be nice. Must be so nice, that feast factor.
I'm glad you brought that up. What the hell, man? Are you kidding me? The Commanders aren't even good. The Giants aren't good.
It's going to let them ease their way to the playoffs. Like, we're going to be battling each other out. We're going to be breaking bones. We're going to be breaking fingers, pulling each other's eyes out, right? Getting to the playoffs where we're a shell of ourselves. They're just there. I feel fresh as a daisy. This wasn't a tough year at all. I mean,
I can't stand that. I can't stand that team, Brandon. I was a big Willie Lampkin fan. They, of course, took Willie Lampkin, which, again, is the Rams' fault. They should have put him on IR. But it's just, don't like Howie Roseman. I don't like how he kind of gets away with whatever. Like, the roster, by them making, I think they made 5 moves at the deadline. By them making 5 moves at the deadline, it tells me that Howie Roseman didn't believe in his roster that he created before the season. I don't feel like we should be rewarding him as much as we do for making a bunch of moves at the deadline, because that just tells me your team wasn't ready. And now we just look at it like, oh, well, you can just throw Jalen Phillips there. You could just throw Michael Carter there. And you can, but at the same time, these guys now have to learn the playbook. It just is stupid. Like, that's why it's like adding a bunch of guys in the middle of the season. It just tells me that you didn't do a good enough job to make your team better. That's just my personal opinion on that. I think it just saying like we're gonna, like, the whole F them picks thing, just saying we're gonna make trades at the deadline, I don't feel like necessarily that's always the best approach, because it tells me that's like how he wanted to operate. And I thought they did kind of a half-assed job in the offseason for a team trying to defend a Super Bowl title. Like, they didn't even know who they want at corner. They're like, oh yeah, it's gonna be Adoree Jackson, and we're gonna go with this guy, Jacorian Bennett, who actually didn't even play for us this year. We're just gonna get him from the Raiders. Like, they're just kind of trying to make pieces work, and it's like, I don't know. I'm tired of them, man. I used to like them when I was younger. It's kind of like one of those second teams when you're a little kid, But I really can't stand them. I don't know about you, but they annoy me, so much. I don't know why.
The offense that I have to watch when they play, and how Hurts plays the quarterback position hurts my heart. And I think you're right about this Roseman thing, where he's gotten so good reputationally wise that any move he makes gets instantly lauded as a master class. Roseman again. And it wasn't. The trade deadline was fine, but it's not. It's the Phillips thing. The best thing you got about that from his standpoint is Miami to pay his money, and more than even the addition of him to that team. And certainly, back to your point, calling Brandon Graham off of his couch midseason was certainly not part of the plan either.
No,
from Roseman's perspective. So they're not as strong. They are certainly now in a place where I think that you can get after them. They're not what they were last year, or what they've been the past couple of years when they had Kelsey in there. Looked like Johnson last night. I don't know. He got out there and kept playing, but we'll see where that leg is. And if he's out, they showed last night, if he's not at 100% or able to do what he normally does, that changes a lot of the complexity of that Eagles offense as we go forward.
I agree. And they have what I would call 3 more chances. I think if you're a Rams-Seahawks fan trying to get that 1 seed, you got 3 more chances with the Eagles. They're 7-2 right now. They got the tiebreaker over the Rams. Do you guys play Philly? No, you don't actually. No. Okay, because I'm looking at the schedule right now. You got 3 more chances. They play at SoFi Stadium against the Chargers. They don't have Alt. They don't have Rashawn Slater. I'm not high on the Chargers without those two. I think they'll maybe make the playoffs, but I don't think they're dangerous enough to win that game. The Lions game becomes very interesting. That is, of course, in Philly. And then you have the Bills, which I don't know what the hell Bills game you're going to get, but December 28th, I can tell you it's going to be a cold game. You ever been to Buffalo in December? Good Lord.
Yeah.
So that's it, Brandon. I mean, unless you want to say they're going to drop one of these Washington games or the Dallas game in Dallas or Vegas or Chicago, you get 3 cracks at this. So
it's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. It's almost kind of like there's can maybe afford at most 2 losses left on our schedule remaining, both of our 2 teams.
Yeah.
To keep the pace, because it's hard to see the Eagles having much more than 3 losses and maybe only 2 themselves when it's all said and done, which you'd still lose the tiebreaker on that one. But they've got a lot of easy peasy games still set up. Washington twice on their schedule, Chicago, who I still don't really believe in, the Raiders that they get to play. They get to get the Cowboys. We'll see at that. That's a division matchup, but I mean, yeah, they're set up well. That's that whole thing. And they're really set up here to maybe get that home field advantage. And again, they're in the inclement weather then or again. And it just kind of sucks because they're a team that's built well for that sort of playoff football. With as ugly as it is, it's like, well, that's where they're like a pig in mud. You know, they're super happy about like, we operate great in this environment. Other teams are like, we can't even do anything in this. It's awful.
Couldn't Minnesota had just won with Wentz?
I know.
They were so close, man. And that was a touchdown to Hawkinson, but whatever.
It'd be nice, man. It would be nice. But we'll see. Maybe Layden Johnson's injury there hurts them up a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
They're still
I
trying
hope
to
he's
figure out
okay. I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah, I don't want him injured either. But
yeah,
he looked like it looked pretty tough. And boy, for him to come out and play on that thing after it got rolled up he is definitely a tough guy. But
he is.
We'll see. They're not going anywhere. That's for sure with the Eagles this year.
Nope.
SoCal Ram with a $5 over on your side. Thank you for that, SoCal. Does this come down to who you trust more, Stafford or Darnold?
I feel like this is very like a casual take if I were to say yes, but I get where this is coming from. I guess to a degree, because I think this is so close. I think Stafford's just playing better than anybody right now in the league. But I don't feel like that is a negative against Darnold. I just think that's where Stafford's at. I think it really comes down to the fact that this is in LA. And, you know, this is in LA and this is Stafford. And Stafford's 5-0 against Seattle. And he's played really well against his team. I guess it really does come down to that. But, I mean, it might come down to the wire where the defense has to make a stop. You might need to see, Mr. Nate Landman try and punch the ball out at the end like he's been doing. It might come down to that.
Can I give you an alternative that might be? It's not that this isn't a factor into it on who plays better at the quarterback position. Like you said, it is kind of one I don't always like for the same reason I don't like quarterbacks being ascribed wins.
Yes.
Like starting pitchers in baseball. Because it sort of throws out the whole rest of the part of the team that has an impact on what goes on in the game.
Yeah.
It's a factor. Don't get me wrong. It is a factor, but the quarterbacks to me don't run on high. You got to have the whole team effort. To me, this game comes down to 2 separate things. And I know that this is a little bit of boring old school, but it's boring old school partly because we're running somewhat of old school style of offenses right now.
Yes.
I think it comes down to who runs the ball better and who wins the turnover game.
Yeah. I would agree 100% on that.
Though, and I don't know if that's always the games, though, that I would say that in every game that it works that way. There are games I can see where maybe we didn't run the ball as well, but we cut them apart in the passing attack. Or we were so explosive in passing and we had a couple of turnovers on the day, but we ended up winning out on the game anyway because we were just so good on that. I think on this, the measure of error is going to be so short and small that those are enough to really carry a heavier amount of weight in this particular game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. And I think the special teams unit has to be in play here too, because if it's that close of a game, then all of a sudden, now say the Rams are kicking the field goal, right? Because they know how important this game is instead of maybe they were more aggressive against the Niners because they felt like there was some wiggle room there. Maybe they have some guys out. We believe our guys match up better. But if you're in a real close game, I guess being at home, they're less likely to take the points. Maybe Seattle's more likely. but Seattle's also more likely because they're better. They're the best special teams unit in football right now. So I do think that gives them some sort of edge there. Yeah, it's definitely going to be really predicated on being able to run the football, because if Seattle can run the football without making crazy adjustments, so they're able to just run the football. Now the Rams are going to have to be in a position they haven't been in all year, because no one has been able to run the football against them. And now Seattle has them where they want them. But at the same time, the Rams have also shown you that the defense can give up yards, they can give up plays, they can give up touchdowns. And if you can't stop this offense in the red zone, because I was complaining all year on the NFC West roundtable until the Jacksonville game, this team is firing on all cylinders in the red zone. I mean, they've scored 15 touchdowns in the last 16 attempts. That's insane. So if you can't stop them in the red zone, then it's really just going to be who has the ball last, Brandon, at that point. So I'm like leaning towards a shootout. I know it kind of goes against the defenses, but I think I'm leaning a shootout here. I think both are high octane passing attacks that can do things the old school way, but can also do things the new school way. And they have gunslingers at quarterback, and they're different like layers that can beat you. I think the one thing I want to bring to your attention, I don't know if you knew this, I saw, and then of course it ended up being confirmed after the fact, Devonte Adams kind of got his oblique. And I saw this.
Was it that stupid camera?
What?
Was it the stupid camera when he gets the touchdown? Was it that because he ran into the camera after the catch?
I mean, it could have maybe weakened it, but he was doing like a shimmy on like one of his routes, and then he immediately just did this, and he was holding it.
Oh.
And yeah, they took him out. Sean McVay, he said this so many times. Yeah, he could have returned if we needed him to, which I love, is like a little like twisted the knife a little bit to Kyle Shanahan. It's like, no, we were up by
we hadn't
20.
been kicking their ass so hard. I mean, maybe we brought him out there, but we're already beating him down. So why bring out the extra gun?
Yeah. So he said he'd be shocked if Adams doesn't play, but that is something that, that needs to be out there, because that could be a storyline. Is he a little bit on a pitch count, right? If he is, I mean, is he just going to play in the red zone? Might as well, right? But no, all jokes aside, I mean, that is something to keep an eye on for sure. Question for you. Are we going to see Ernest Jones this week?
Hard to say at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Tyrese Knight just had the best game of his career operating off the mic. And he is a mic, I think, naturally, who's been playing the will for us at times in his past.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to be pretty comfortable if he's in there. Ernest Jones is a better player with where he's at right now and the type of season he's having. But I think that might be part of this, that they don't go as much to Ernest in this, maybe potentially, though he's going to want to play against his former team. That. Being that Tyrese is playing so well. So it's a bit of a coin flip on this one as to where they'll go with that. Because what drives you on this one, if you feel like Tyrese can do fine, give him the extra week and let him rest and get him for the home stretch, and you're not taking a big step back there. But Tyrese played really well, including those two blitzes where he got the strip sack fumbles last week.
Yeah, and then Drake Thomas is another guy that has caught my eye over the last few weeks.
He's fun.
He's
a
small player,
little good dude, but just lightning fast and super instinctive and just gets after it. I've seen him. What's wild is I got a couple of shots of him off all 22 where he takes a 320-pound lineman. The guy's got to only weigh 220, and he throws the lineman out of the way. Like, it's very impressive where you go, geez, dude, like, how did you pull that one off? I think too with the running game, and just on the key on that, if I can just elaborate a little bit further too, is it is definitely on who can run the ball well to me on this a bit, but it's also the secondary part, which is staying away from the deadly pass rush of both of these two teams. And when you get into 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s against either of these two teams, and they know you're going to pass, I think offensive lines can't hold up in that way. And that, especially with Mike, with the simulated pressures he runs at you and the stack boxes and the confusion he tries to create up around that line of scrimmage, not just blitzing, but just confusion on what you're seeing. I think that getting into more of the 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 situations, take away that complexity, doesn't allow you to necessarily blitz as kind of unfettered. And that is much of the driver there, is you staying then away from that pass rush.
Yeah.
Are you with that?
I am with that. I think the cool thing about very cool thing about Seattle is that the casual fan is going to be like, they don't really have anybody that strikes fear. They don't have a Trey Hendrickson. They don't have a Max Crosby. They don't have a Nick Bosa. They don't have a Jared Verse, right? But it's like they have a bunch of guys that are just doing all the dirty work behind the scenes. Uchenna Nwosu is one of the more underrated players in the league, and it's obviously his fault because he's always hurt. But when he's healthy, dude's electric. It's why I loved him coming out of college. I mean, he could play just a straight-up linebacker. He can be a rusher. You know, he could drop into coverage. He's got such a unique skill set where he's a tweener, but not in the, like, negative connotation realm of being a tweener. And then you have, you know, Byron Murphy, who was playing out of position, you know, last year. And I think he's, you know, being able to be activated more how they wanted him to. And then, you know, Derek Hall, who, you know, second rounder from Auburn, a guy that I think people have kind of forgotten about. And those are some guys that really kind of stepped up last week. You know, in that game, you guys had 35 pressures. It's been just sheer dominance. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, the pressures thing, like, people were talking about, Rams fans were really upset. Like, why isn't Jared Verse getting tons of sacks? It's like, well, the 49ers are getting rid of the ball, like, doop, 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 you know, so there's that. Do you suspect that Seattle's going to try with the quick passing attack to neutralize the Rams pass rush? Or they're just going to be like, no, we're mano-y-mano. We're right there on the same tier as this team. We're going to run our offense the way we're going to run our offense. And, yeah, like, how do you see it?
Well, I think just because every team that we played, and whether it's in their DNA to do so or not, has decided that they're going to, it's two things that are causing this. Mm-hmm. It's the heavy usage of 12 and 13 personnel.
Yes. And
then it's the condensed splits, taking the wide receivers from out in their typical wide alignment and moving them both closer into the line of scrimmage. I did not aware of this coming into the season, but seeing so many teams play us this way, seeing so many teams kind of play you guys this way too, there appears to be a page in the defensive playbook that every defensive playbook has, where if an offense goes to a condensed split, stack the effing box and blitz off the back of those stacked boxes. Not 24/7, but in just general terms, those are the 1-2 punch. Why I go around the world to answer your question in this way is I think that if your Rams are going to do the same thing, if they're going to take that same intention, then like I said earlier on this show, you don't go uphill by trying to throw short when there's all those, because I can bring a stacked box and then drop those bodies out. And I've got a bunch of guys now in the short coverage spaces on those quick routes. I've got a bunch of hands and bodies and very tiny little passing windows. The space is to the depth of the field. The green grass is to the depth of field. And that's why we're taking so many chunk plays. That's why Sam Darnold's averaging almost 10 yards an attempt this year, averaged 15 yards an attempt against the Cardinals, is because every defense is telling us, if you want to beat us, you got to have Sam Darnold beat us and attack us down the field in the passing game. We will allow vulnerabilities down there in our coverages for that thing. And I don't know why every defense keeps doing this when every single week we take advantage of it. Eventually, a defense to me is going to alter and change this. And if your defense does that, if you guys go, hey, we're going with just the front four. Hey, we're going to go with just the 7 in the line of scrimmage and not that 8th guy down in there. I think then you'd see us start to run and feature more of the short passing attack. But until a defense does it, Jake, I'm just going to anticipate that everybody's going to keep taking the same page and going, do that again, do that again, do that again. And I don't know why this is kind of the end all be all of, like, you'd think halfway into the year that we get some differentiation on this, right? Like somebody would try something a little bit off different, but it's just not.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because the Rams blitz rate is among the top 5 fewest in the league. So is, by the way, Seattle, which bodes well for them because they do such a good job without having to just blitz all game, and Stafford shreds the blitz. But, you know, the light box rate, Seattle's in the top 5. The Rams are number 1 at 61.9% of the time. This is according to Sharp Football. But then the heavy box rate, Seattle actually leads the league in the fewest at 12.5. The Rams are 3rd at 14.6. And then sub package rate, Seattle is 92%. The Rams have 80% of the time. So yeah, it kind of does go to show you. I think the Rams are more equipped than other teams to deal with this offense. And I think Seattle is more equipped than other teams to deal with the Rams offense. And that's why I think what we have is a game that can go either way. You might favor one team because of the home field advantage, what have you, but it can go either way. And I think that there's a chance that this could be like a 23-20 game. I'm not saying like it can't, but I still tend to lean both these teams are so explosive. I'd probably go 33-30 Rams.
I like it, man. That's I'll probably be somewhere in the similar place. I don't know if I'll go that high on the score, but I'll eventually be kind of right around, I think, in that area. Stockton Slap, thank you for the $2 donation. Says Philly and Pack looked putrid last night.
Not
Indeed, they
fun.
did. Indeed, they did. That was I was looking forward to that game all day, Jake, weren't you? And then you get there and you're like, this is what
I was just hoping the Packers were going to win and make it a little bit easier, because what I don't want to see, to your point, is that they're going to play this dog shit division, and they got 2 more games against the Commanders. Is it 2 more?
Mm-hmm.
Or did they already play them?
And the Raiders.
They got 2 more against they literally got to play the Commanders like week 16 and 18. You think that team is going to have any heart? No, absolutely not. So they got to play the Commanders twice at the end of the year.
So they get to rest guys up is what they get to do at the end of the year. They have de facto bias at the end of the year.
Yeah, the Bills game week 17 is going to be interesting there. But it's time for the Bills to show us. Like, we give them so many passes. This team is just not that good. They're just really not. And, I mean, we saw this against the Dolphins. It's like, but hey, if you want to show up and show us that you're an AFC contender, that game week 17, wouldn't mind it.
No, let's touch on this real quick. The thing the Bills have gotten wrong, and the thing that I think that even the Packers get wrong with this at times, because the Packers have taken this whole, we're going to go with 2nd-round pick wide receivers for 2 decades, and we'll never go for that top guy. And then they finally go for a guy in Golden this year who is really not a 1st-round receiver per se. It's like you finally extended yourself, and you didn't really go get that. Like, move up a couple spots, go get Tedero and McMillan. If you're going to go do that, just move up and go grab that. Get the true difference maker to then pair with your quarterback on the outside that can get open. You talked about Dobbs having to do all the work as a 3 in the 1 spot because you've tried to get with these other guys and getting cute. I know that they got Watkins technically, but that was another one where they get weird in the 1st round when they do pick guys in the 1st round, where you're like, I don't know if I see 1st round with the guy that was Dakota or something he played at, or
North Dakota State.
Yeah, who? If your Rams drafted a wide receiver out of North Dakota State in the 1st round, you'd be losing your crap. And I would do too. I'd be like, what?
I don't know why they didn't draft Ibuka. That's what I don't. I don't know why they didn't do that. Because I felt like he was can't miss. Like, a lot of the things that JSN does, he can do. And I told you the reason why I liked Ibuka was I thought he had inside-outside versatility that a lot of people didn't believe. And he can block. He's cut from the same cloth of like a Robert Woods, like a Hines Ward, he's going to help you. And I feel like the Packers are really missing that, but that's their problem, Brandon. We don't have that issue.
They're a mess, and it's wonderful for us because they've got some talent, but they just got some disjointed parts that don't kind of work. And they've got their old ways there that they don't like to extend outside of, where sometimes you got to extend outside of you. And I felt like the Packers the last couple of years, when they've been willing to get aggressive and go outside of what they normally do, it's worked well in their favor. It's just that they're not willing to lean into that mode enough. It's like they want to kind of dance in those waters, but they want to stay on the mainland. Like they'll go in there for a while, but let's get back to the safe area that we stay at in our thinking. We're very patient here. We just take a very patient approach there. That's how we go. Stockton Slaps okay today. Thank you for all the donations. He says Philly will depend on home field advantage to advance in playoffs.
Because they're going to rely on the link, and they're going to rely on potentially the elements, which it's funny because they now use that as an excuse as to why they didn't blow out the Rams in the playoffs. The California team that has not played in that. But anyway,
Philly's going for whatever they can. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
It should have worked the opposite of that, you guys. Yeah. It goes the other way with that one.
Yep.
Phoebe, thank you for the $2 donation. Says 3 quarterback whispers and Kyle, Mike, and Sean. That's unfair. Man, we got the best division in football, Jake, every single year. And it's partly because we got the smart coaching that we do have in this division. I don't even think Gannon's necessarily a bad coach. I feel like you got to get that guy with a quarterback other than Kyler to really make a determination with him. But indeed, man, you got 3 guys that know what they're doing as far as, at the head job, and they're brilliant in what they do to certain different ways, different pathways in what they do. But I think all have certain level of brilliance to them.
Shanahan will have to figure out something, because at some point or another, you have to turn and look. Is it my fault that these guys continue to get hurt?
I think you got to wonder it a little bit. I think too, there's so many complicated things that go though on with the Niners with this injury situation a little bit. And I know it's been a couple of year thing, but like this year in particular, it's like, well, age is a big part of it. You could see that Kittle with his injury history, and he's been a highly injured guy in general, like whether he's played a lot or not, he gets beat up a lot. And McCaffrey coming into it, older back, well past that carry mark that they fall off the cliff for running backs. You could kind of anticipate that. And then you have things like the Brandon Ayuk thing, where the Brandon Ayuk situation to me is a representation of you not just getting the contract done or trading the guy, trying to get cute, having him through all the training camp out of practice. Then he comes in late, then he goes out there and plays and he's not ready to go. And then that's like another different separate thing, just pay the guy or trade him.
And they got the weirdest stuff that goes on. I mean, Jacob Cowing is like, oh yeah, he got his hamstring before the season. Okay, why is he on IR November 11th? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Jacob Cowing, Ricky Pearsall. Oh yeah, we're expected to have him back week 7. It's week 11 now. He's just now practicing. Ayuk. It's like put Ayuk in the same category as Joe Mixon. I mean, is that dude even alive? Is he real? Like, does he exist? What's going on?
Blew my mind when Jesse told us that he's heard that he's healthy and can play, and he's just not playing. That they're just not playing him. Like, this is like common knowledge amongst the Niner fan base out there that this guy who you gave this money to, and then you didn't move him at the deadline. Like, what do you think, you're going to not play him this year and then get something for him in the offseason then at that point?
And then you want us to give you credit for getting rid of, like, trimming the fat on your roster, eating all that dead money?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Come on.
No, it's a mess there. And he's very smart as a coach, but there's a lot of other things around what he does there. And that front office is not always the best.
And the contract they gave Lenore, oh my goodness!
Oh my God, I know.
He gave up 2 touchdowns against the Rams. That was funny.
Well, they give Lenore the deal, and then they're like, "We got to give him this money, so now we got to move him to an outside corner." And it doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It don't work that way. And like, just because you gave him the money doesn't turn him into an outside corner when he's a slot specialist. But that's true. Kind of the Niners for you. They do a lot of smart things, but they'll do openly some dumb stuff too.
Yeah.
Phoebe says, "Don't you love when everyone is like, this is a make or break season for LaFleur, then don't acknowledge that Jordan Love is buns. Hurts is still overrated." Is this kind of a make or break year for LaFleur, in your opinion?
I mean, you got to wonder, right? I mean, at what point is it just the definition of insanity to just keep trying the same thing over and over and over again and then hope it changes? I mean, the Packers aren't even close to being close.
Yeah.
They haven't really made any progress in the playoffs. I sit there and I'm like, everyone's like, oh, Packers Super Bowl. I'm like, what would make you think that at any point in this season? Because they beat the Lions, who are also overrated, who also couldn't win in their home playoff game. They couldn't beat the Commanders. They got blown out. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Is like, there's too many of these guys. Like, what's your job? Are you trying to win a Super Bowl? Or are you trying to place?
Yeah.
I feel like too many coaches in this league, and I'm not saying that, like, Matt LaFleur isn't trying to win a Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying. Maybe the better way of phrasing is too many organizations are fine with placing. They're not actually, they can say, oh yeah, we want to win it. You want to be a millionaire, but are you taking the steps to being a millionaire? Like, oh yeah, like, we get it all the time, Brandon. I'm sure you get it. I get it a lot. Oh, I'd love to be able to do what you do. You can. It's not hard. Get a microphone, get a camera, learn your shit, and then go live. There you go. You're doing what I'm doing, right? Like, it's not anything crazy. But there's a difference between I want something and I crave it and I desire it, and I'm going to do whatever I can to get it. And that's where I feel, because coming from a place of, as you know, you can see the Judge jersey in the background. I'm a Yankee fan. The Yankees don't crave a World Series. The players might. The organization does not. You know what just came out today? Because obviously baseball. How someone posted, it was like, Hal Steinbrenner is dead set on getting under 300 million payroll. No, you should be dead set on doing whatever the hell you can to win a World Series. Just like what I mean about these NFL teams. These NFL teams are just basically trying to place. I understand that sounds crazy, and I'm just a dude in a beanie telling you this, but the reality is that actions speak louder than words. Do you really think for a second Jimmy Haslam cares enough to want to win a Super Bowl? He's actually going out of his way to do so. Do you think for a second Mike Brown cares about anything more than he cares about his profit with the Bengals? Do you think for a second that the Dolphins actually care about winning a Super Bowl? No. They have Tua Tagovailoa as their head coach, and they just now fired Chris Greer. He was their GM for 20 years, and he's awful. He's like the worst GM in football. Too many of these teams exist. And the Packers, while they're considered the story franchise, and they had, Brett Favre and Bart Starr and Aaron Rodgers, and now, of course, everybody was talking about, Jordan Love is the same age as all those guys were when they won a Super Bowl, so magically everything is going to go in our favor. That's not what the Packers are. The Packers are that team that they're going to be consistent. They're going to be good. They're never going to get over the top because they don't change, to your point. They don't change anything. Their big thing when they're like stepping their toe in the water, like, guys, look at me. I'm drafting Christian Watson. Like, okay, I'm drafting Matthew Golden, guys. A real rebel here. They're not doing what other teams are doing. And that's the thing. So I know it's a long spiel, but it frustrates me as a football fan because the reason why this sport lacks parity, because people do complain about that, and I still think it's there. But it's there in a sense, like we get two teams every year that might be newcomers to the playoffs from last year, but it's not crazy parity. And the reason is because you have these absolute dumbasses in organizations that are fine with doing their thing, that are closed-minded to the point they don't want to change, that nothing is going to change. It's that simple. So there you go.
No, I agree. I think that there's definitely some non-serious organizations as far as you got to do a lot of things to win this league. And if you aren't doing all those things and you've got your mind on other priorities or you have bad ownership, you're never getting anywhere. And that's why perpetually these teams stay in the same place they've been for decades at times. I do have a theory, though, on the regards to not to take this into a baseball side, but I do have a theory on maybe why the Yankees might not be as willing, even this year. I know they have in prior years, potentially that lockout coming in 2 years. And the salary cap that's going to come with it, and that you're trying to set your books up ahead of time, maybe a little bit to prepare for that a bit. I wonder about that because it's being talked about so much in baseball.
That's a good point. And again, not to get off the rails on baseball, but my counter would be like, if you see a lockout coming, that should make you want to spend more and try and win now because it's going to be a completely different world after the lockout.
Amen. I 100% agree with you on that. It's one that I think the landscape's going to be really changed. I think it'd be good for baseball, though, if they did it. I'd like to see it.
We'll see.
But get well again.
To the point, the same teams that don't give a shit about spending money, they're just going to basically sit there spending the same amount of money. There should be a cap floor. You got to put the floor ceiling.
It's got to be both. You got to do the floor.
Well, I'm with you on that, but the floor is the most important because you can't have the revenue share and everything. All these top teams are paying the admission fee for Bob Nutting, who is an absolute, billionaire or whatever, and they're paying for this dude because he doesn't want to spend money, for the Pirates. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, that's a whole other thing that we could get into.
Yeah. Oh, they're going to move Skeens this offseason too. And, if Skeens goes to the Dodgers, I'm hanging myself. I'm just saying that right now. Scuba or Skeens goes to the Dodgers. You're going to have me with my little legs dangling on a live stream. We'll be coming. No.
Man, that's hilarious.
All right, we got to cook through here. We got a lot of donos. SoCal Ram, thank you for the $5 donation. He says if the Rams front seven doesn't show up like they did in the Niners game, won't look for them. Won't look good for them, I think he meant.
So I'd push back on this. And the reason being is because they did show up. It didn't look that way because, Mac Jones is getting rid of the ball at, I think it was 2.6 seconds. That's like the fastest of the season, I think I read. You can't get to the guy if Stafford's getting rid of it at 2.57 and people are wondering why he doesn't take sacks. That's why. So it's like, you got to be understanding the fact, this is why pressures are nice, but there's a way to literally, whatever you're trying to accomplish, there is a way to beat it, right? To beat anything in this league. And sometimes, every time, because Brandon, you could beat anything with anything, but there's always going to be a negative when you do it. So the negative, if I'm just going to get rid of the ball quickly, one, my quarterback might not be accurate enough to continue to do this and might make poor decisions. And you might have robbers sit down on these routes, and, it's easier to jump. But on the flip side of it, let's just say in general, simplifying it. Well, now if you can't stop on the other side, you can't stop a team from scoring, and you're trying to go back and forth. Now you're battling the clock, because you're going to dink and dunk, and you might get first downs. But if you're constantly throwing short of the sticks, it's not a really good place to be in. So that's why it's like, I understand what people are saying, but it wasn't like Mac Jones was going deep down the field and getting all these like huge explosive plays and had the Rams on the ropes. I mean, this was all by design. When the Rams offense scores 5 or 6 touchdowns in a game, you don't really need the pass rush to get there.
You're going to play to the depth coverage because these coaches are all scared, to your point on this, of a game being up. I've learned this year as much as ever. I think that seen Hawks will do this at times with leaning off the lead in third quarters.
Yeah.
Coaches are so scared, Jake, of having a game where they have a big lead and one of those epic collapses on the back of you not doing what's standard issue as a coach for what you should do. Meaning it's not a full prevent defense, but it's like a sort of a softish version of prevent defense where you're just inherently saying, okay, we're going to take out the blitzes. We're going to stay to depth, nothing over the top, everything in front of us. And I know that just by the sheer amount of time and the possessions left in this game, back to your point, we will load off the clock. It'll be bled out and we're going to be free and clear at that point. And it drives fans crazy, but it is a book that kind of works too. Like it's drawing. We've done throughout this year a couple times, did in this game, two passes in the second half, 2 attempts throwing the ball in the whole second half for the Hawks. But it's worked. We haven't had it bite us on the butt. And everyone's like, well, it'll get us eventually. Well, maybe it's a rule of thumb for a reason, especially when it's working this uniformly.
Yeah. And I'll also push back on that comment as well, because Kobe Turner had a 13.6 win percentage out of the interior when he's getting double teamed as much as anybody. And, Byron Young had a 20% win rate. Tyler Davis had 25. They were getting there. I think if you want to say Jared Verse didn't do enough, that's fair. He only had a 6.9 win rate. Trent Williams really gobbled him up. I thought that was probably one of the better games I've seen from Trent Williams since I thought that he was washed, and now I don't think he is. But yeah, again, well, you're going to get rid of the ball quick.
Jared Verse too. The main thing he works off of is he comes off that wide 10, wide 11 alignment, so he's a little bit further off. We do the same thing with Hall. You move him a little bit wider off the line. So what you're then allowing him to do is have more of the build-up speed to get into the power rush. But a power rush is not a quick rip or a swim move over the top. It's one that walks the lineman back. So if I have a quarterback that's throwing the ball 2.61 seconds, the walking it back on a power rush is not going to generate pressure there because it's more of a reliant on a 2.8 a little bit, which most quarterbacks, that's the average quarterback's going to tend to be is in that 2.85 area. So that's not a representation that Verse is not getting the job either when it's that extreme.
No, I like that you said that because you're absolutely right on that point.
Go ahead.
Hey, a rival guest that's educated and great to listen to. Let's battle this weekend. Go Rams. Yeah, I typically I typically don't do shows with anybody who isn't educated and is great to listen to and isn't my buddy.
That's right, man. That's right. I had a great time with Jake down up in LA, being able to do that. Hopefully next year they do that again. I got to think they will because it seems like it was such a home run for them on that side in the channel. But I echo Jake's sentiments too. We've got a round table we'll do doing it tonight at 6:00. And these guys do phenomenal work. I'm so lucky to be able to work with these guys that all really do put in all the time and effort it takes to make sure they know what they're talking about, not just looking at their team, looking at the NFL, looking at schemes and how things mix and all that. And Jake does a great job. But by the way, folks, if you do get a chance, down in the description section below, I've got a link directly to Jake Ellenbogen's channel. If you can do me a favor, he's going to take them. Maybe taking a couple hours of his time out today. It's the donos, Jake. It ain't me, man. It's the donos. Hey, you know how this goes.
It's all good, brother.
But please do show some love to him over on that side. Give him a sub if you can for me. And thank you, Wildman, for saying that. I appreciate that, brother.
I'll have the same thing for Brandon's channel too. So be sure to check that out as well. In my
thank you
description.
For that. Very kind of you, Woodman. Mark Sanchez, thank you for the $5 donation.
He's back.
Personally, he's back, man. I love them. They put the mugshot in. Personally, I don't like the quarterback winning percentage stat because there's a lot of variables. But the fact that Stafford just got 500 is crazy. What the F?
Yeah. The Lions are the scourge of the earth. I don't know. I just I shouldn't be upset, but I am because I wanted Stafford in 2015 for this very reason. I used to watch him all the time, always liked him, and you just watch and you're like, obviously Lions fans appreciated him. But what has really turned me against them is that the Lions fans, now that he's gone, it's like, yeah, we appreciate that, like, you rooted for us in the Super Bowl type deal. Like, because they were rooting for all Rams fans and everything. They were cool. But then afterwards, like, we don't owe you anything. It's like, well, no one said you did, but you don't have to be dicks. And just the idea, like, you know, Stafford's daughters are coming out. They don't know better. And they're getting booed. You know, stuff like that. Stafford's down on the ground in pain in the playoff game, and you're cheering. You know, it's like, you know, have some class. Like, you know, it'd be like if St. Louis fans, when Steven Jackson left, they treated Steven Jackson like dog water. Steven Jackson was running behind no offensive line to speak of. He'd get contacted as soon as he got the ball, and he'd still get chunk plays. You know, it's like that. I mean, that guy put his heart and soul on the line. Give him his respect, and if you don't, that's fine. But don't be booing. Don't be cheering when he gets injured. Definitely don't boo his family. Leave the family out of it. I never understood the heckling against family. That's weird.
I don't either. I think, too, that Detroit's got a lot of complicated feelings when it comes to Stafford, because none of us know what it's like to have a quarterback that you had in your house and you let him go and he goes and wins the Super Bowl somewhere else. And it is a direct representation of your ineptitude and how bad your organization was that you didn't do more with that guy. It's like I've said to you before, I feel like if he had gone to the Packers at the same time as Rodgers had been there, I think he probably has 3 Super Bowl wins. I think he takes them past a couple of those conference championships. I think that that's a little bit in looking at Stafford's career has got to be taken into account a little bit on this one. And you got to do some of that advanced math on this one because of how bad that Lions organization was for so many years with him there.
No, I agree. And, you know, it's funny because the Rams fans almost do know, and they still won a Super Bowl with Warner. But, I mean, we were all rooting for Kurt Warner to win that, you know, with the Cardinals. And, I mean, that's the thing. You know, now some of the LA fans who, you know, they weren't following maybe when he was playing, that's okay. Like, I understand. And then he picks against them sometimes here and there, and they get mad at him, whatever. But Kurt Warner's always been near and dear to my heart. He's one of my all-time favorite players, and I'm not going to lie. I don't care if the Cardinals won that Super Bowl. I would have been as ecstatic as like the Rams won it because that's how much I loved Kurt. And I was so heartbroken the way that Super Bowl went down against the Steelers. And I just think about it like, say they win, and then the Rams play against Kurt, and they have their quarterback, and both teams are really good, and they're in the playoffs. Am I rooting against Kurt Warner personally? Still no. I want him to have a good game, and I want the Rams to win. If the Rams lose, am I like booing him? Am I like trashing the Cardinals fan base? No. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like it just got to the point where, you know, the Lions fans who thought they did all this good by rooting for Stafford and rooting for the Rams fans and the fan base in 2021, like, you kind of erased that because you got nasty the moment you had any taste of success. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you too, I did a collab with the Lions content creator last year, and it does sound like there's some weirdness in that fan base. She's like, yeah, they don't want us to usually do collabs, and like there's a little bit of that stuff you get the Niners content creators where there's a lot of infighting and just guys angry at each other. There's a weird deal going there. This does Brett bend on a question I wanted to ask you on this. Okay, first question: in their prime, Warner or Stafford?
I'm gonna say Matthew Stafford.
If Matthew Stafford is on the greatest show on turf, do you win 2 Super Bowls instead of 1?
That is a great question. You know, as much as I love Kurt Warner, I do believe Stafford is more clutch. I'd go with Stafford.
All right. Oh, all right.
Well,
I like it. I don't have a dog in the fight. I just want to know where you were on it.
And by the way, Kurt Warner would say the same. He already has. He called Matthew Stafford the greatest quarterback in Rams history. But this is why I would say this. Because I watched Kurt Warner he lost a Super Bowl with, and obviously we know like the Patriots, like they taped the walkthrough, and Willie McGinnis was laughing because they finally called a hold on him when he's holding Marshall Faulk the whole game. Ty Law was holding Isaac Bruce. It was bad, right? Like we know there's a video out there. It shows you how many missed penalties that they had in favor of the Patriots, because it was the David versus Goliath. No one thought the rough, tough St. Louis Rams would lose to the Patriots. But that said, as bad as that was, the officiating, Kurt Warner still had all of those guys. Matthew Stafford had Cooper Kupp. And don't get me wrong, Cooper Kupp won the Triple Crown. He ends up winning the Super Bowl MVP because Matthew Stafford was quarterback. If it was Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl MVP with the same exact stat line. We all know it. But anyway, for whatever reason, voters don't like Stafford. My biggest thing, Brandon, no Robert Woods. You're down to your third string tight end in Kendall Blanton on the first play of the game. He gets injured. So now you're throwing to Bryson Hopkins, who has not played like all year. He caught 3 passes his whole career. He's now in the driver's seat. No running back on that team was healthy. They were all dealing with some ankle thing. Cam Akers came off an Achilles tear. Darrell Henderson had a high ankle, and Sony Michel was dealing with an issue. And then the offensive line was somewhat healthy. But aside from that, you're throwing to Ben Skoranek, who dropped a huge touchdown against the 49ers. They even made that game close at the end. Like, if he catches it, the game's over. He drops a touchdown wide open. Van Jefferson's playing with like some leg issue that like literally went into the following season. So there's that. Again, no Robert Woods. OBJ goes down the first quarter after, he was going to go for 200 against that secondary. And now it's like you just have Cooper Kupp. And I know how great he is, but like Stafford was playing against Lou Anarumo, who's a crafty defensive coordinator who throws a lot of different things at you. And he's throwing to guys that he didn't really have a lot of experience with. And he found a way to do it. And not only that, they go down in that game. He had an interception where he's throwing it up to Van Jefferson right before the half. Van Jefferson can barely even jump because he's got something going on with his leg. And then the interception that he throws, literally throws it right to Ben Skoranek, who then like scoops it up in the air, flips it up, and the Bengals have it. So the Rams were down by 10, and he led them back. And obviously the defense was fantastic, but he led them back and won the game. And that's my thing, is that I think Kurt Warner is fantastic. I love Kurt Warner, but I think even Kurt Warner would tell you, I think Stafford has surpassed him. And I think they would have won against the Patriots in that Super Bowl if they had Matthew Stafford, because he's already shown me he can do it with guys like Ben Skoranek and Bryson Hopkins. What can you imagine what he would have done if he had Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, the no-look game? He probably could have figured out how to get 4 more points and beat the Patriots, right? So, yeah, that's just how I see it. I could totally be wrong, but that's just how I see it, and I respect them a ton. But I think Stafford's the greatest thing that we've ever seen in this Rams organization. I think he's going to go down as the most underrated quarterback of all time. That's truthfully what I believe.
And a little bit of what if even for the pelts he puts on the walls. That what if factor, which I think is going to be kind of a fun one in looking at him. I tend to agree with you, but I do think that there's a little bit of that what if with him, and it's all backtracked to Detroit and not a really good job of utilizing is the great career he did have. Upper left, thank you for the $5 donation, says, hey guys, are you guys betting on this game? Just a recommendation. Loser has to use winning team's jersey till the next game. Go Hawks. So he suggested this one on mine, is that we do a jersey bet, and that the loser's got to win. Has got to, every time they go live, then wear the opponent's jersey every time they go live until the next game. That'd be a long time of wearing Rams jersey. I'll tell you what.
Oh my goodness.
I told them none of the round table guys want any more bets after they saw me in that ridiculous hat. I was trying to tell them this at the stream. You didn't believe me, but you guys saw me in that hat and you were like, no, I don't know. I'm good.
Yeah. I don't know. I never do these type of bets, so I'm probably out on it. I would even maybe consider a hat bet, but never anything like that. It would just be like a regular hat. Maybe
we'll do a hat bet on the next one, because we're a little late in the process on this. Maybe we'll do a hat bet for the next game, the final game of the year, upper left.
Maybe
I can finally get Jake to put the hat on I was going to put Jesse in. The
No,
monstrosity I was going to put. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No chance. No chance. No chance.
That thing like a Buick on your head, man.
No way. No. I would do like
dude.
a beanie. That's what I would do.
We'll try to maybe figure something out for that second matchup there, upper left, and see if we can put something fun together for that one.
Oh sure, Brandon. You know the Rams are going to win this one, so you're like, well, they can't.
I gotta wait for the. I gotta do you like Jesse. Jesse knew the right time to tag. He's like, no, not the last game of the season when all my old ass geriatric dudes will be in the retirement home. No. Let me get you game one when everybody's real fresh.
Hey, but Brando, think about it. How funny would it be if Seattle somehow ends up winning the Super Bowl and you have that picture of you having the 49er hat? It would look like a relic. It's honestly like a trophy at that point. Be like, yeah, you got week one. You got me in a hat. Well, I won the damn Super Bowl. You know?
Yeah. So, you got me. You got me. If that's the price I got to pay, I pay it willingly every year. I'll say
you had me in the first half. Not going to lie.
It was a long show, but that's what I got to do for my team. I'll do it, man.
That's funny.
Vic 1002, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, love y'all, man. Y'all are amazing. Crazy game coming.
Appreciate you, Vic.
Appreciate you, Vic. And yeah, I love this game and where it's at and the stakes at play in this. And this to me is the celebration of a football season. And it's been a fun season so far, but I'm so glad that the stakes are set for this kind of matchup and for the end of the season and the way that they are. I mean, we all want our team to be here, but that we are battling it out amongst the best. That it's shades to me of us 10 years ago against the Niners. Remember, the Niners were the big dogs on the block and you had to kind of take them down. And until you took them down, you weren't going to be the bully on the block. You got to take the bully down. And you guys have been a little bit of the bully for how high you guys have been riding on that. So I love the challenge of this. I love that it's a great stylistic fight between these two teams. I love that they've got a lot of, it's not just one star of Stafford carrying. He's playing great. He's playing MVP-like. Sam Darnold's playing MVP-like, but it's really a full team effort here that's bringing these teams to where they are. And it's going to make it all the more better matchup. I think we get to Sunday.
I completely agree. Looking forward to it.
Mark, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, B, what's up with Love? Isn't he supposed to be back? I do believe with the way the our thing is that technically he could be back, but with this hamstring, we don't know with where really the he's at as far as recovery mode. He had a setback during the bye. Was it a bad setback or was it a little bit of a let's just wait till we have him ready for the Rams because that's when we're going to really need him kind of setback? It could be that as much as anything else, but Ty Cotta has actually been playing like a top 7 rated PFF safety in the sport. Strangely enough, did not see that one coming, man. Not see that one coming.
Yeah.
La Canuck with I was got to get the applause out. $20 donation over on your side. Thank you for that, La Canuck. I love the name there, by the way, too. He says, great to see you made it to Levi. Super amped for the team. Great show, Carl.
Carl's
great. Was it? Where did you get some good seats last week?
Yeah, 215. Section 215. Yeah.
There we go. It's a difference when you're watching lower level in football. I mean, when you get down, actually, it does feel a little bit.
Oh,
you have that 300 level like we were at the round table. You know, they always tell you not a bad seat in the house. Like 300 levels are. I don't know if
enjoyed
it.
I'll say that one throw where Stafford did the spin thing that he did and threw it to Atwell 60 yards down the field. Watching that from where we were at, that looked insane. And Jesse nearly shit himself because he was like, I don't think he really felt like they were going to come back and win. And I definitely didn't because I've seen this movie before. But Jesse in that moment was like, Matthew Stafford is a god. I was like, he's to be fair, he's defended him for a long time, but that was funny.
He has. No, Jesse definitely is appreciator of great quarterback play. We know that in him. And if you're not that great quarterback play, he ain't giving you your flowers.
No, he's still not giving Sam Darnold credit.
I got a little moving from last week, buddy. I got him to go an inch because he has been dug in and just like I got him just a little bit last week. So we're starting to finally bridge the gap with him. But boy, he's been stubborn on that one.
I mean, think about it. If you're a 49er fan and you saw what Sam Darnold did last year, by the way, to the 49ers.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold did last year and then what he's doing this year. And you're looking at Brock Purdy, who they're like clearly soft benching after they spent $50 million on him. I'd be crashing out.
That's why people have been in my chat like, Coach Jesse. So I'm like, you guys can understand. I think there's some complicated emotions at play there with Jesse watching this. It's not just as much of he's a hater of Darnold, but like you say, there's some other factors that are kind of causing the wrinkling here just a little bit.
Yeah.
But Lekanak, thank you for the $20 donation. Appreciate you. You got a $5 here on your side from Rams. Let's go. Rams score 42, Seattle 44, pretty much even. The difference is the Rams had 0. Is this last year's game? Is that what it is?
No, I think. So you guys had 3 turnovers last week?
We did. Yes.
That's what he's talking about then. You scored 44. It was 44-22 and 42-26.
Oh, okay.
It looked like both teams knew.
Seattle's 3. Whoever wins the turnover battle wins this game.
Yeah. Okay. It looked like both teams knew what was going on in the other game. And they were like, okay, well, if you're going to score 38, well, I'm going to score 42. Like, it was kind of fun
I'm
going to
make a statement. No, I'm going to make a statement. No, it was a little bit like that. And part of why I think Hawk fans were kind of like, no, keep putting your foot down. They're doing stuff there. Keep going. We're like, no, we're just going to run. Like, no. So Rams, that was my key to it. We were talking earlier on the stream on this one of just, I know turnovers is one people often go to in games and go, well, yeah, duh, but I think there are games you can lose the turnover battle in certain matchups and still see a forecasting of being able to win the game. Yeah. This is one with as tight as it is and with as important, I think, as just that battle will be between the two of them. If you can win it, I think that is a big harbinger to who's going to take this game when it's all said and done.
Well, and I think also, think about this. What are we actually assuming when you win the turnover battle? That you're taking advantage of the turnover. Not everybody does. Yeah. Both these teams are capable of doing it. But we also saw, I think it was against Houston, you guys did not take advantage of that one huge turnover. I forget what it was. I might be getting it confused. It might be Houston I was talking about that didn't take advantage. But either way, the point being is that if you don't take advantage of an interception, all it really is, oh yeah, we moved him out of that field position. We put him in another field position. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of what that really becomes. But really, I say it all the time. You got to score 100% off a turnover. And the way the NFL is today, you really got to score a touchdown because a field goal just doesn't really feel like a win for you. It feels like a loss. No. Feels like a win for the defense.
It's a momentum thing as much as anything else.
Yeah, shorter field, and now we just held you to a field goal. We were expecting to give up a touchdown. That's a win for the defense. You might have added 3 points, but so it's an interesting thing there. Yeah,
but well said, well caught on your part, Rams. Let go. I think this particular matchup, this one will, whoever I think comes out, win a turnover battle and whoever wins the rushing. So if you win the turnover battle, but then you lose, you don't rush as well as the other team, then it's kind of an even one. But if you can win both of those two coming into this game, for me, you win this game, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Jay Gundy, thank you for the $5 donation, Jay. I can see Shaheed getting gadget plays behind the line as well as deep threats to help force lighter boxes. It's a big part of the trade for why we did this, Jake, was the thought process of, hey, we're going to get Burner and you're going to keep stacking the box. You're going to keep bringing these guys down. Okay, you're going to do it with this guy. This guy, when he decides to go up top, you're not going to put the safety help over the top to him. That's a big driver of what you want to do with him. And last week, we were able to manufacture some touches to his point on some of the, like we did like a little end around with him and bubble screens and stuff just to get the ball in his hands. He's good with the ball in his hands. I was surprised that I hadn't thought as much about him as being a kind of a guy that can be a little bit of a yakkish kind of guy, but we even aligned him at running back last week and gave him a pitch play for 10 yards.
Well, and that's the thing with Rashid Shaheed and why, like, I was mentioning him on the roundtable for the Rams. He's not really just a guy that runs straight down the field. You know, it's not like you're watching Will Fuller, you know, and he can catch. No. So it's really not like you're watching Will Fuller. But you look at last year, I mean, you know, he goes down with the injury. The year prior, you know, 2023, I believe, he had over 700 yards. Now, you think about that, and you're like, he was, what, the fourth option? So, I mean, he can be explosive. He's a really good player, and, you know, he's also an all-pro returner as well. So there are some things that you can get going, and you can use them in different ways that could create some problems, you know, in that special teams. And you're already very good special teams, the best team, I think the best special teams team in the league. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we are too. It's a great unit. They've done so well this year all the way around, even from how they defend kickoffs, just they're elite at it. You guys did give up a good punt return last week, so something to maybe monitor within this game. Because I know special teams has not been, it's not all been a struggle for you, but there's been some struggles there for you guys on the special team side of it this year.
They're better on the kickoff coverage, I would say, than the punt coverage. And they're better at both than they are at the kicking operation, because I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing about that on the roundtable. It's been an issue all year until this 49er game, but we'll see. They're sticking with thicker kicker. Have you seen this guy?
No,
Our kicker was 92, and he's like 280 pounds.
Holy Jesus.
I don't know if he's actually 280, but it looks that way, especially in person. So I'm not trying to shit on Harrison Mevis, but he is huge.
It's like those fat pitchers that can throw well, you know?
Yeah.
Remember the fat guy that the Yankees had through the no-hitter back in the perfect game back in the day when he was drunk?
Oh, David Wells.
David Wells. Yeah. It's just use the power of the gut, man. That's, Bartolo Colon,
Wild dude. 245 pounds, so not even close to 280, but you get the point.
But on the kickers, it looks like, Jay, because they're out of shape. It's an out of shape 245. The gut's coming out, hanging off the front of the over the top, and
What's crazy is I think the Rams have the heaviest special teamers in the game.
Nice.
Ethan Evans is 250 pounds. The punter.
Oh my gosh.
But also Ethan Evans at 6'3", 250. Like, I think that dude, I think he squats like 450. He is a huge, like big, like jacked. Like, so it's not like you said, it's not like a heavy set. I can't speak on Harrison Mevis. Maybe he's got a lot of muscle under that. I don't think so, but it's certainly possible. And then they just added Jake McQuaid, who they had in 2011 as an undrafted rookie free agent at Ohio State. He's 247 pounds. So they're more than he is. So how about that?
Bringing the heft Rams are with the special teams unit. Love it, man.
We love it.
Thomas Cox, thanks for the $5 donation. He says, Jake, since the Rams have the Falcons' first round pick, would you want to keep their pick and trade up, or trade the pick for a 2027 first round pick? Ooh, kick the can down a little bit on this one. Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple questions off this one because I did want to ask you about this a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going super long today here. I promise you, I'm trying to get through these donos as fast as possible. We got a lot.
It's fine. I don't got a show until 8.
Okay, cool. I got one at 4, so we got an hour and a half hard out here at some point. But what do you want to see them do with that first round pick? Boy, this is interesting from their standpoint because the quarterback class hasn't looked that great here. This upcoming draft.
I'm not going to pretend that I've really watched them either. I try to get into college football, and I just can't until the draft, and then I watch those guys isolated without any preconceived biases, or at least as much as I can handle. I think that's the best course of action. I'm going to say my guy that's been my guy for a while now, Lenoir Sellers. I just feel like there's something about him I really like. But at the same time, Brandon,
he's not coming out this draft.
You don't think so? I think
he's got Jalen Milroe-like issues of development. So he's got a long way to go.
I like Jalen Milroe. Sign me up. Give me all the issues.
We'll fix him. We'll make him better.
Yes. Tools and Issues podcast. Anyway, so with the Rams, I have a weird feeling, and I could be wrong, because I think everyone's kind of assuming Matthew Stafford has 2 years left. I think he might go longer. I think he might go longer. And I think running this more like 13 personnel, less like longer developing plays, and then focusing on the run game more, because I think they are going to continue to focus on the run. Their run game is great. Their run blocking is excellent. It's the number 1 rated run blocking operation per PFF. I think that could prolong his career. And I think I've said this. I really believe this is the best team in the league, and I think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, I'm very confident this is their year. They have the best offense that they've had in the Sean McVay era. This is the best defense in terms of not just we're going to shut you down, bend, don't break, and hold you points-wise, but we're also going to force turnovers, which is something the Rams have struggled with in the past. So they have the pass rush. They have guys like Nate Landman who can punch the ball out. They got guys like Emmanuel Forbes is playing out of his mind, 2 interceptions back-to-back games. They have those guys. But I think with Stafford, when you have what you have with Matthew Stafford right now, 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Let's just say he gets to 50 touchdowns and he throws 8 picks. Okay, he's probably winning the MVP. But then again, maybe not, because it's Matthew Stafford. Who knows? Anyway, he should win the MVP.
It's
if
that East Coast
Stafford,
bias, bro. They don't watch the games out in the West, and it's 3/4 of the writers are on the East Coast.
I didn't realize until I saw how much love Drake May is getting, despite playing a below 400 schedule. And I have a lot of respect for Drake May. The Patriots were my sleeper team, but I just don't know why he's ahead. Anyway, we could get on that. But the point being is that there are a lot of people that think the Rams are going to take their picks and they're going to trade for like a Joe Burrow or a Dak Prescott or Trevor Lawrence. God, I'd be so angry if they traded first-round picks for Trevor Lawrence. Jaguars should be trading first-round picks to get rid of Trevor Lawrence. Anyway,
yeah.
Point being here.
Well, what to your point, that not to cut you off, Denise, I want to hear your thoughts, but you brought it up with the Burrow thing. Okay, so Stafford plays a couple of years. It maybe makes it easier. You go with this LaSalle Norris. You take a first-round quarterback who's now your backup there to give you insurance if there's an injury. You have your other first-round pick to keep adding on the team. All that's boring, and yeah, I get that either way. But what's exciting potentially, and what scares me to the fear of my heart on this is Stafford retires. Do you go make that run for Burrow at that point if it's on the table? You're right about Lawrence. That's not, he's not doing Lawrence. Not the same thing of what Stafford was.
No.
But would you do the Burrow one?
I personally wouldn't, and I think the Rams would consider it. I wouldn't because, and I know this sounds weird because Stafford went through it, but I don't trust the injuries, man. I don't trust it. He's been behind an offensive line that's been porous as hell, and I think he's suffered. He's not as tough as Stafford. He's tough. He's not as tough as Stafford, so he is going to miss games. He's going to miss games with a calf injury. He's going to miss games with a shoulder injury, and he's got a lot of stuff going on. He had an ACL tear his rookie year, so there are concerns of mine with Joe Burrow. Genuine concerns. I think he is a fantastic quarterback. I don't buy into the whole, look at what Joe Flacco's doing with his guys. Maybe Joe Burrow wasn't that good to begin with. No, that's ridiculous because Joe Burrow is making some incredible throws every single week. But it's more, if I'm giving you 3 first-round picks or 4, whatever the hell it would cost to get Burrow, I feel like I'd have to get, and the market won't dictate, will dictate the opposite of this, Brandon, because you won't be able to, and this is why I don't think it's worth it. I personally feel like I should get a discount on Joe Burrow because of how injured he is, how all the time he's dealing with issues. But I'm not going to get that because the market is going to dictate that it's going to be the highest bidder, and there's going to be a team out there like the 49ers, for instance, that are like, man, we're tired of getting stepped on by the Rams and Seahawks. Like, let's go out and get Joe Burrow and just be done with this, right? And that's the thing. The 49ers might offer 3-4 first-round picks. They did it for Trey Lance, who they didn't even really get to see if he could play in the NFL or not. And then they didn't really give him an opportunity to win the job. So you want to talk about a team that throws away picks like they're nothing? San Francisco. I think they're more likely. But I think the Rams definitely are in play. I think Dak Prescott.
What are you doing, though? What are you doing then if you're not, like, Stafford's retired, you have a Super Bowl ready-made roster at that point. You don't go for a Burrow. Are you really hitching your wagons then to the rookie quarterback and then maybe some veteran journeyman that you have in competition with after that point, like a Garoppolo type?
Well, I'm thinking they might go that route. They might go the route that we're seeing with Minnesota right now. And the reason being is because I think Stafford might carry them through the rookie deals of like their core, and then they're not going to be able to sign everyone because unfortunately the NFL salary cap doesn't really reward you for hitting on a bunch of picks. Seattle's going to have to deal with this because they've killed the draft as of late. The Rams are definitely going to have to deal with this. So I think we're going to get to the point where I think Stafford ends up playing more than 2 years. I do. Kind of feel like it's going to be 3. And I think they're going to use these picks to just take this team to another level. I think with Rob Havenstein in a contract year and really kind of falling off, I think they're going to take a right tackle. And I think they're going to get a number 1 style cornerback that they can get on a rookie deal and be like, hey, you cover him the whole game. You know what I mean? So I could be wrong, but that's kind of where I see them leaning. Also, Devonte Adams, this year was about $13-14 million you're paying him. It's going to be 28 next year. I think it was always understood that it's probably going to be a 1-year deal, and then they're going to have to do like some rework or something next year. But why? Adams shouldn't have to do that. Adams is having an incredible year. He has 9 touchdowns. He's going to get paid. So do you want to just give him $28 million next year? Or like, what's the deal there? You're going to have to pay Puka Nacua. You're going to have to pay Jared Verse. You're going to have to pay Byron Young and Kobe Turner. It's just like there's nonstop. So the Rams are going to have to get creative. And if Stafford sticks around, it does, in a sense, help them with that creativity, but it also could hurt them. So this is what I would say. Don't be surprised if the Rams try to, do what the Vikings are currently doing. The Vikings have an interesting little thing that they're doing. I don't think a lot of people caught on to it. The Vikings are taking advantage of the rookie quarterback contract. Now, they might not win a Super Bowl with him this year, but you can see the Vikings are not far away from being a problem. That defense is still stout. They're in all of their games, right? The offensive line got just absolutely mauled by injuries. If they didn't, Aaron Jones is running the ball well. You still have Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison, right? You have TJ Hawkinson. You have weapons. And like that was like kind of my thing is that what if the Rams don't have a choice? And instead of making the decision between, man, do we keep Byron Young? Do we keep Quentin Lake? Like, whatever, right? Instead of having to make that decision, they say, we're going to keep both and we're going to go with a rookie quarterback. And we're going to get a veteran like Jimmy Garoppolo who knows our offense. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that to try to kind of mend the fences in a little bit. And now you're able to re-sign two guys instead of only one guy for the time being. Take advantage of that rookie quarterback contract and maybe make it a little bit easier. And if you have to be more of a defensive-minded team and you can really rely on the fact, okay, Sean McVay is going to take it up a notch, as far as, the offense and the way he calls plays. If you're Sean McVay, you have to feel like you can get the most out of anything on offense, the way you know the game. That might be the direction they go in. I'm not entirely sure, but me personally, I would not give 3 first-round picks for Joe Burrow with all the injury concerns I have currently with him.
I think that's completely fair. I do think that with the Vikings right now, I think that they would tell you that this is not only that this is not necessarily been a success of us taking this approach, that if we had a retrospect to go back and make this change, we would have gone with Sam. And if we had a retrospect to not go with Sam, we would have gone with Daniel Jones. And
I don't agree necessarily with what they're doing. I'm just saying I can see them doing something similar to that.
I could too. I wonder if when they look at the sport right now where it's at with McVay and being so smart about where things are at, and if you're talking 10 years ago with where rookie quarterbacks coming in and having that impact and saving you that money and being able to hit the ground running because you could put the spread concepts into place to allow them to hit the ground running, i.e. like Robert Griffin having basically the Baylor offense. They threw out the Shanahan offense. They put the Baylor offense in Washington, and that's how you got him to cook that first year. And then all these teams took that blueprint going forward. Yeah. That's not been as much of a success recently. These young quarterbacks aren't able to lean on that. We're talking today about going to 12 and 13 personnel, under center, play action, turn your back to the thing. I think you very well could find yourself in a position of going with that young quarterback at that point and finding that that's the limiting factor that ends up holding you back with a Super Bowl made roster ready to go. And we've seen a lot of teams recently with Super Bowl made rosters held back by that lack of that quarterback position. So that'd be just the one little predicament that I would wonder about if you took that approach with it. Allows you to sign the guys, but McCarthy very well is the thing that holds them back as a main mitigating factor this year to even getting to the playoffs, much less making noise. I agree.
I'm not very high on McCarthy, but the way I just see it more as like kind of like the principle of taking a rookie quarterback.
I get it. No, it has worked. Look, we 10 years ago got to a Super Bowl back-to-back on the back of the strat. So it has worked. I just wonder if that evolution of the sport and where things are at right now versus where they were like 7-8 years ago, if there hasn't maybe been there's a bit of a gulf between these two now a little bit.
I think they're in a tough position because of those stupid contracts that like Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett signed. And now we have to pay pass rushers $50 million. We're going to have to pay a wide receiver $50 million because Jamar Chase's contract. Yeah. If you're the Rams, you can't just not pay Puka Nacua. You can't just not pay Jared Verse, And then this is the issue. This is the fundamental issue with the NFL and why I still say if you draft well, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It does, but it doesn't. It's short-lived because your compensatory pick at most is going to be a third rounder. If you lose Jared Verse, say you don't sign him, you're getting a third round compensatory pick. People would say, well, you could just use a franchise tag. Yeah, you can. And then guess what? Now you don't have that franchise tag for other players. You can't just franchise tag everybody. You can only franchise tag one. And then in addition to that, Jared Verse will not want to play on the franchise tag.
Right.
So that's not going to bail you out of anything It's a Band-Aid, and it's an outdated Band-Aid because the only guys that are going to play on a franchise tag know that they're one-year wonders. That's the thing. They know that last year was maybe a little bit of a fluke. They know deep down. It hurts to admit, but they know. Like a Trumaine Johnson. Really liked him with the St. Louis Rams. Came over to L.A. with them. They let Janoris Jenkins walk. They tagged Trumaine twice. Trumaine Johnson had some really good seasons, but we all knew Trumaine Johnson wasn't Darrelle Revis. We all knew Trumaine Johnson wasn't Patrick Peterson. He wasn't one of the Richard Shermans of the world. So that's why he signed that. That's why there wasn't an argument. There wasn't a fight. It just happened. Yeah, I'll sign 1 year. At the time, it was like $15 million. Yeah, of course you will. But if you truly believed you were a Sauce Gardner, you believed you were one of these top corners in the league, Patrick Surtain, you're not signing that. You want security, and you feel like you've earned it. Not only that, you're going to want to be the highest paid player. So it's just going to make it really tough, and I feel like Sean McVay, he has to feel good in some cases. Like I could take like a Ty Simpson and maybe turn him into something, But I'm not saying that that's who they would draft. I'm saying that, say Stafford gives you 3 years, right? Like if you get a guy that can run your offense and you know what you're looking for. You've been around Stafford since 2021. You were with Goff from 2017 to 2020. McVay knows what he's looking for now. Then you find the guy who he's going to fit your offense. He's going to do the things he needs to do, and you move on with that. But yeah, I just think the Joe Burrow thing, I mean, pedal, turf toe, grade 3, wrist ligament damage. He missed 7 games, missed the remainder of the season. ACL tear, grade 3. He also tore his MCL as well as his PCL. He had a hand dislocation, knee strain, MCL sprain, chest fracture, knee meniscus tear, wrist fracture. This is a lot of freaking injuries for this guy.
It is.
And I know Stafford is going through them too, but the ligament stuff freaks me out. Stafford doesn't have a ton of ligament damage on the level of, like, Burrow has way too much ligament damage to be 29 years old.
He's gone through it, man. And I think you make good points as to what, could be holding us up. Stafford, why wouldn't you keep playing if you're playing at this level and literally having the best year of your career? Why retire at that point? I think it's very likely you just keep rolling it there. And you bring up the Niners as a possibility. I think that's an intriguing one as well, because they certainly could be in that position of like, F it, let's just get out and get this done. Especially because they cleared that dead money this year like they did with $100 million. So it sets them up cap-wise a little bit better into the future on that side of it. But it'll be fun this offseason to see how that goes. And this is why the West is the West, because we'll be one of these two teams. You guys will be in the mix. Whether you guys do it or not, you will be in the mix and talked about if he becomes available on the market or he pushes.
Oh, yeah.
Michael Bicknell, thank you for the $5 donation, Michael. It says, Hawks have the best roster to stop 3 tight end looks in the league. This game or second game will be like the Bills-Rams level of entertainment. Go Hawks. I'll take a Bills-Rams game last year, man. That'd be a lot of fun. Absolutely would.
Yeah,
and
that was not for the faint of heart, I can tell you that much.
No, it's not. You're going to be on the edge of your seat with that, but boy, that'd be a hell of a game. All the more reason this should be a primetime matchup. We do have some good parts here to fit in. Nicky Manwari matching up against tight ends and being able to utilize him like a linebacker, being able to utilize him like you'd be in base, but you're a nickel. I mean, he gets alignments and snaps at times at literally the will linebacker position at times. So that does help you, I think, to Michael's point on sometimes being able to defend this versus other teams with their nickel. He'd be about 5'9", 185. You wouldn't have that same kind of confidence. So you get the best of both worlds with Nick a little bit, in that a big guy that can be a run defender and like you guys run a lot of bubble screens. Like he destroys bubble screens because the receiver blocking him is oftentimes giving up 30 pounds and about 3.5 inches and a lot of length to him. So he's just, you saw probably the play a couple of weeks ago where he drove the guy back and one-armed Debo Samuel and brought Debo on a one-arm tackle after he blew up the play on the screen. I think that's a little bit of Michael's talk. I think we are well suited up to be able to deal with it as much because of that, anything else.
I'd push back on this.
Okay.
Not that I think it's wrong. Like, I think technically you have a really good roster to do it, but Seahawks have given up the most receptions to tight ends this year, and they've given up the 5th most yards to tight ends this year. So that's something that I think is really interesting, that kind of going into this one.
It's in one specific place. I'll give you. It's a great point on your part. It's to one specific place, and it doesn't make it any less threatening by what your Rams do, because you're the number one play action team in the league by percentage basis. What's happening is it's on one particular route. So it's on a route of play action, rolling to the left. The drag comes from the tight end and the quarterback's left. So he's rolling to the side he doesn't like to necessarily roll to, or that most quarterbacks don't roll to the left because it's harder for them to make those throws. And what's happening is the drag route to the tight end with his Hawks defense is leaving that guy just open schematically for some reason. So the Texans ran like 4 times this route. Cardinals did it a couple times last week. He's literally wide open and then just runs up the field for like 20 yards where there's like nobody near him. Now that you mention it,
I'm thinking back to Dalton Schultz now, because he had no yards in the game, and all of a sudden he just kept ripping off like first down conversions.
And it's not him beating our guys. It's just this. It is literally that drag comes from you're at the strong side, drag comes back to weak side, quarterback rolls it to the weak side, and then he's just wide open in space, and it's a blown. It's literally just I think it's a schematic hole within the defense, and that's just being attacked. But it's a valid point on your part, in that's something where you can get after, especially because you naturally are already built within how you run your offense to take advantage of that stuff. You got the tight ends, you got the play action. How we defend that will be pretty big in this game.
Yeah.
But at least man on man is a matchup wise. If he's covering like an Emanwari's matched up against a Parkinson, like that's not an advantage for Parkinson in coverage. He's going to eat Parkinson's lunch on that, but we might just blow the coverage too.
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, the Rams have given up 5 touchdowns to tight ends this year. I believe 3 in the red zone, 1 to Tonjes, I think 1 to Kittle. And then I want to say 1 to Warren, I think.
Well, not two of those. Even Tonjes can catch. So, hey, we gave a touchdown to Tonjes. So, if you're going to give him up, at least you gave him up to some good pass catchers.
Yeah, that's true.
We got your brother in the house, my man. Jason Ellenbogen.
Oh, that's my dad.
His brother. Dad. Oh, what's up, Dad? It's good to see you in the house, man.
Oh, yeah.
Dropping a 5 on your side. This is a huge game. Can't wait to see this matchup. This is going to tell us a lot about where each team stands. I'm going 31-27 Rams. Very close to where you were at with that. Very close. We're all in about the same place. I'm going to go at 27-24 Hawks. So I'm going to roll on this one. But I think we're all in the same territory that this is going to come down to a 1-score game. Very well could come down to a final drive at the end of this game, like in that first matchup against us last year at home and then overtime. So I could certainly see it, Jason. I could certainly see it. That'd be a fun game. That'd be a hell of a good game. And I just looking forward to it, man. It's just a fun matchup, and that this is what football is all about, building up to these kind of matchups, hoping your team can do something great, having your sights set and dreaming big, and then having these kind of matchups with 2 of the best kind of going toe to toe to see where you sort of stand. I mean, this is what this is all about to me.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's just, it's like the old school in me. As simple as with baseball, I like guys that don't wear batting gloves. With basketball, I like the post game. Give me an old school post game. I love watching it. Today's NBA, everybody just shoots threes, so love that. But then hockey, I love the old school enforcer, right? But with football, I'm really I was absolutely a kid in a candy store watching this 13 personnel when they first started really breaking it out against Jacksonville, and yeah, I haven't really changed my opinion since. It's only gotten more fun, and it was so fun to watch. There were so many 49er fans in attendance. Like, who the hell is that guy? How do they just leave him wide open? Like Davis Allen catches the tie. I think Colby Parkinson's like high stepping into the end zone, and they're like, they let him wide open. Who even is that? That was the best, dude. It was so good. Because it's like, I literally know all the tight ends on the 49ers roster. They could not name one on the Rams. It's so funny.
Well, and it looks like football. I mean, I watch these spread concepts in recent years at times, and I'm just like, it's so kitschy. It's re-RPO and throw a little pop bubble screen out here, and it's like, it's just kind of playing like hot potato with the football a little bit. And this is under center, and it's guys getting nose to nose and laying a block, and then chip and release, and then defenses have to be on their P's and Q's with where they're looking at eye wise, and it feels more football like when you watch it on top of being old school to me.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, Ferguson, I think he's going to be a stud in this league. I can already see it. He was actually warming up because I was down by the end zone, threw the ball a little bit with Kyron Williams. But I was down by the end zone, and I noticed when they were doing the warm-ups, it was like, see 18, which that's a normal wide receiver number, but he's with the wide receivers. And I'm like, even more so. You know, they have like rotation. They kind of show you the depth chart without showing you the depth chart. Puka, Adams, Ferguson. I was like, Ferguson was third in the wide receivers, so they are clearly starting to ramp up his usage, and I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like against Seattle.
You get the 12, 13 personnel and you got base defense. You really have a likelihood of being able to drive a matchup with a guy like that, a move tight end type that then is on a linebacker. And that's such a supremely huge mismatch then for a guy like that. And that's what drives that pick. It drove the Arroyo pick for us. And that this is where teams are looking at these with this projection status of we're going to go more to base. Defense going to go more to base. We're going to isolate that matchup with the linebacker versus that nickel slot cornerback that it used to be 3 or 4 years ago in the same kind of personnel alignment setup where, the nickel corner can kind of roll with that tight end. But then did you have the blocking in that tight end to then take advantage of the run game back then? You know, that was kind of the tit for tat with that a little bit. But he's nice. He's good. Both those guys, upside guys, and how they were drafted. And you can't look at what they do this first year. I think I saw with Ferguson, he might end up with 13, 14, 15 catches on the year. Arroyo might end up with like 20, but it's again, they're on a pretty stacked roster. It's a balanced roster with a lot of running the ball. There's not a heavy amount of targets to be had. You just can't take that as a bottom line representation about the success or not on that pick, because these were picks for the long term as much as they were picks for 2025.
Completely agree. And I think people also forget grading draft picks. Like, I get you have to do it. I still had to do it, but they're not just drafting guys for here and now. And everybody has different, like if you're the Browns, if you're drafting guys like to win Super Bowls, you're not winning a Super Bowl. You should never be looking at anything other than getting the best guys that you think are the best guys. That's all you should be. But the Rams, the Seahawks, you have a little bit of an interest there where it's like, I want a guy that helps me now, but my roster's good enough to justify. I'll take the guy that's a little raw because I can afford to. Whereas other teams are like, I don't have a tight end, So there you go.
There you go. I think it's be interesting to watch both these guys long term and see if they can tap in that upside. Because if you have a difference maker at that tight end position here moving in the future, I think it's going to be a pretty nice little feather in your cap, your offense, because you'll be at the forefront of where you want to be at in the game right now with those kind of players, I think.
They both took the top off the defense and had a explosive touchdown over the top. So, yeah, they both do similar things. It'll be interesting.
Big players, big play tight ends. On top of being really talented, these are big play guys that'll get chunks down the field when they do make their receptions, both right now. Both very dangerous and hard covers.
Yeah.
Feed Me, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, like when they take off interception of Pat M game graphic.
Pat McAfee?
Pat McAfee, like when they take off an interception of a Pat McAfee game graphic. I'm not sure what he means on that one.
Not sure on that one.
Sorry, Feed Me. Thanks for the donation. Not too sure.
Appreciate you.
Probably reference back to something we were talking about a little bit earlier ago. Ricky Ricardo, thank you for the $5. Appreciate it, Ricky. Keys to a Hawks win will be being able to pressure Stafford.
Yeah. If you could get to if you can sack Stafford, the game changes because they haven't really dealt with that this year.
I think it's definitely a key on it, Ricky. I think the hard part about this is that more than it being just where you just get your guys up there, generate your pressure. If he's going to throw the ball as quickly as he is, if it's going to work off of play action so very much, you may not get as many opportunities with him holding the ball long enough to get the pressure there. And the thing about the Hawks pressure this year is it's been good and we've been generating consistent pressure. Our pressure does tend to be a little bit on the slightly longer developing side rather than like that. I.e. a little bit like we talk about Jared Verse. We do the same thing with the out in the wide, and then it's going to bump, and then he's got to, Derek Hall. This is all Derek Hall does. He just lines off the edges, just mollywops the tackle and tries to walk him into the backfield. So that takes some time. And Stafford's a guy that does get the ball out of his hands quick, and that the passing attack is going to be pretty quick for the most part with what they do. But if you can create pressure, Ricky, to your point, if you create pressure on Stafford, you definitely, are going to help yourself out tremendously in this game to getting far down the line towards a win at that point. Even whether you get the sacks or not, just to even just get him under pressure a lot would be a big helping hand.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with that. I mean, it's not like a rookie back there where he's going to just pick you apart with no pressure, but then you pressure him and he's going to fold like a lawn chair. Stafford doesn't do that, but human being, right? Anything you can do to try and disrupt. It's like, yeah, we know that hand getting in there at the last second probably isn't going to affect Steph Curry's 3-point shot, but you got to at least do it. You're just not going to just leave
if you leave him wide open, it's nothing but splash, right? If you leave him wide open, he's just going to take you apart. So you're right. It's no guarantee the other side of it, but if you don't do it, it's a death knell for your team because he will kill you on the day. Like he did this last week against the Niners. They couldn't generate any pressure. He's dropping back in his back foot, getting more comfortable throughout the whole game and throwing it wherever he wanted to throw the football. He's kind of just picked his spot.
It's true.
Thank you though, Ricky. Appreciate you for that. Mumbles, we got a couple donations from Mumbles here. Thanks for the $10 donation, Mumbles. I'm not confident in Eagles offense. I think the Bears can win if their defense gets healthier. Like, oh, hell no. But I'd give them a chance, but yeesh. No margins to win against the Eagles. It's annoying, Mumbles, because you can see that they're not as good as they were last year and that they should have no business getting to the number 1 seed this year, but it's that division that's going to allow them the pathway. And then they've got some easier, they're playing as well. It looks like the AFC West around that as well. And the AFC West has got some tough games, some easier games on it, depending on who you're playing, especially the Chargers, like you mentioned, being down linemen kind of changes the outlook of that team and what they do.
Yeah.
But look, we get the playoffs. They're not as scary as they were last year. Even the Eagles get that number 1 bye, even they get the home field advantage. I'll say, it's nowhere near as good a team as they were last year, in my opinion.
Well,
maybe not
Saquon
nowhere near,
isn't
but not
back.
quite.
Like if he doesn't just magically come back to where he was, he's only got one game over 100 yards this year rushing.
Oh, Saquon. Yeah. It's not been there for him, huh? I mean, I know I had him in fantasy, so I'm really feeling it. But he's not been the same out there. Oh, it's bro. I lost by 1 point yesterday, bro. 1 point.
Oh my God.
And
that's awful.
And I had Burrow as my quarterback, had to trade for Stroud. Both of those guys are knocked out. I'm down to like Jacoby Brissett and freaking Mac Jones. I'm trying to I'm just, oh my God, it's been a brutal. Every year it happens to me on fantasy though. I just get destroyed. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's why I don't like Christian McCaffrey, because I took him, I think 4 years. All 4 years he got hurt. Then I stopped taking him when we went to the Niners, and he never got hurt. So I was like, of course. I'm sure they're drinking the fountain of youth, even though it's not anywhere else in the organization. But Christian McCaffrey is indestructible.
Somehow
not
this
saying
was
I
on
wanted
pace
to get
for
hurt.
500 touches.
I would just have preferred him to never get hurt on the, Carolina Panthers to begin with. But no, I mean, Barkley has a 100-yard game against the Giants. Anyone can run against. They make Christian McCaffrey look like Christian McCaffrey against the Giants.
Yeah, they did.
So I mean, the Giants defense, it's weird because they got guys that should be able to stop the run, but they're like a sneaky defense where they can make like opportunistic turnovers and they can get the pass rush because obviously they have enough guys there, Thibodeau and Brian Burns and I still think the guy that they added, Abdul Carter, he is not going to pan out in this league.
Strange pick on their part already with Thibodeau. As much of like we don't have faith in Thibodeau and then we don't move Thibodeau at the trade deadline and
stupid.
That's again Giants organization. Bad organizations, bad for a reason. Doing things weird doesn't always add up in track. Their approach to Jackson Dart has been as asinine as you get. Daboll's never going to get another head coaching job as much because of his approach to me too. A lot of the way he's coached, but this Dart situation where he's obviously throwing Dart out there to play with a wild abandonment so he can save his job because he's hoping he gets lightning in a bottle with him or he can get enough wins to just keep my job. But you're having him play all wild and getting injured and getting his crane cracked. And you can see that injury coming on him that happened last week. I mean, you could see it coming down the line with the way they were utilizing him because they're having him run around like a running back there. But that's kind of neither here nor there. Yeah.
No, of course. But yeah, it's just, if they don't have Barkley, I think they only have 3 100-yard performances this year entirely for rushers and receivers. This offense is going to bore the shit out of you.
Oh, boy.
Jahan Dotson was their leading receiver in week 1.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with. Like, they're not. Dallas Goedert was their leading receiver against Tampa. He had 37 yards receiving.
Yeah, and Hurts isn't just awful watching him play the quarterback position sometimes, dude. He's very smart and he doesn't hurt himself. He like refuses to make the self-inflicted error, but he plays so safe and so with little like almost
know.
training wheels on as he plays the game. It's just
That's
like,
how the media treats him. Like, I've always liked Jalen Hurts. I believed he was going to succeed at this level. But it's gotten to the point where it's like the dude's won a Super Bowl. I don't need to hear constantly like, oh, can we just give credit to Jalen Hurts? I mean, like, he played really well, and you know he I've never seen a quarterback where like the media is trying to like justify why he deserves praise more than Jalen Hurts.
yeah.
I'm like everything he does. Yeah, but Jalen Hurts, man, you know, he looked really. No one's saying he didn't. Why are we constantly trying? But Jalen Hurts, you know, I've never seen a quarterback who, anytime he does anything right, it's time for us to finally start giving him credit. Like, he gets more credit than Stafford. What are we talking about?
Oh, they try to talk about like a top 5 quarterback. I don't know how you got to any point with Jalen Hurts. You say that guy's a top 5 quarterback. I think that there's a question of him being a top 10 quarterback.
I think he was sensational in the Super Bowl that they lost.
Yeah.
That was one of the best games I've ever seen played by any quarterback.
Agreed.
And I hate that he lost that Super Bowl because he deserved that. But
yeah,
I don't think he's ever played a game that good since. And he got absolutely outplayed by Stafford in the freezing cold and the snow. And they'll just say, well, he got hurt. You don't think Stafford was hurt? Stafford was playing with broken ribs the rest of the whole season. Like, you know, so it's always an excuse. It's always like, but Jalen Hurts, like, why? Why do we have to justify why he did? You know, he's an NFL quarterback. He's won a Super Bowl. Can't we just leave it at that? Like, he's a good quarterback. He's good. No one's saying he isn't good. Why do we constantly have to be like, yeah, but I like I said, I like the guy, but there's nobody else in the league that I hear that about. I kind of used to hear it with Kyler Murray early on. I don't hear it anymore. Jordan Love every now and then, but Hurts, it's every week. It's like, oh, well, you just got to find a way. But the whole tone changes because, like, if the Rams won 10-7 against the Eagles, they'd be like, oh, I don't know if I trust this team. It's like, but now it's like, yeah, you know, just Jalen Hurts just found a
performance.
Jalen Hurts found a way. Definitely not the defense. Jalen Phillips found a way. Jalen Phillips was the most important Jalen on the field last night.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Anyway.
No, it's true, man. And it's gritty. You hear a lot about that. He's so gritty in his performance. It's like 120 yards passing or something like that. It'll be like that's what they do in baseball. That's always the baseball for like the utility guy. That was the old cliche thing, you know. Oh, he's so gritty. The moxie
he's got a
on this guy.
batting average.
230 with no power, average glove. God, he just lays his heart on the line out there every week. He's that kind of guy, you know. It's like, oh
my
man.
God, so true.
Mumbles, thank you for another $5 donation. He says, also, I don't know why is the Rams guy who my first impression was, oh my cabron, this guy, what's with this guy? The other reasonable one on the round table. So I think he's saying you won him over a little bit.
Oh, cool.
He was like at first, and then he was like, no, you're one of the other reasonable ones on the round table. I think that's what he's saying.
I think we're all reasonable, but I appreciate that. I think you for that, Mumbles. I think I would agree. I think you're very reasonably minded. I think you also show a little more willingness than some of the other two guys that willing to have your opinion adjusted with new data and new information. I think sometimes, especially with Jesse, he'll dig his feet in, but these guys all do a great job. And I think that they're all pretty reasonable outlook. No matter how positive they might be. I mean, geez, look at Jesse here. They've been on a run and he came into this year going, don't be active at the trade deadline. Time is now to turn this over. I think a lot of other people in Niner content creator land would just sit there and say, no, keep going. Keep going. It's like, no, he's trying to look at it with, true eyes, not just homer eyes a little bit. Yeah.
Which is, I think good. That's a good representation of a good analyst. It's
a shame that he doesn't get more respect from his fan base because he does such a great job. I think all four of us do a great job to the point where I don't feel like we get enough, but we get a lot. But I don't feel like you have enough right now. You're at like 20,000 subscribers, which is awesome. But I mean, I think all of us, we should be well over 50,000. That's personally how I feel it. Like, because I feel like, I mean, you see us on the show. You can't take chemistry for granted.
Mm-mm.
I mean, Brandon, you and I have done together, we've done like a couple shows, just us. And this thing's almost at the 3-hour mark. And I don't feel like it's been that long.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree.
So-
And it's why we're kicking ass. I just looked last week. It's like our clips and our views off of AFC East is like, that's the first channel been around for 4 years. Like we're doubling their view count right now.
Yeah.
And I know that they've got bad teams in that division to a degree, but like at the
got
end of the
two
day, that
good teams,
chemistry I think
though.
is true.
Like,
I think, yeah, they got
Yeah.
a couple of good ones on the other side of it. And I think why we're doing as good as we are is because the 4 stack of us, to your point, are good at what we do. And we got that great chemistry, and that we're all trying to, attack this with trying to see things clearly as much as we can. Even with our, all of us are going to have our biases to some degree. That's unavoidable, but we're not trying to lean into it, I think, as much as what you might get in other places. And that's one of the differentiating factors. On top of, I think we just got great chemistry on the
100%.
table. Thank you, though, Mumbles. Brent, thank you for the $5 donation. Jake, he says, if your Rams break our road streak, I will personally be mad at you.
well,
10 in a row on the road with Mike McDonald to start out his coaching career. Jake,
is that
10 wins on the road.
wow? That's impressive, man.
Not too bad, huh? Like it's
So
and I don't.
You mean to tell me if Jimmy Garoppolo converted on that 4th down, he would have lost that road streak? Oh my goodness!
Be out, man. It's
It
all
was
Jimmy,
right
it was
there.
in Jimmy's hands, and he let it flitter away. Not the first time Jimmy's let something slip between his fingers. Oh,
that's I like Jimmy, but yeah, you're right.
him
Yeah.
and he. You mean?
Unfortunately, Brent, for you anyway, I think these two teams are going to split. Now let me see what the Rams are going to do in this game and moving forward and going into your game. I might even be here saying, oh yeah, I think we're going to what? No, right now I think they're going to split. I had them splitting before the season. I had the Rams winning this one. I had Seattle winning the one in Seattle. I understand Stafford's 5-0, but I think something has to give. And to be honest with you, the 5 times he's played against the Seahawks, this is the best Seahawks team since LOB. And I think in a lot of respects, it's better. I know that sounds weird to say, but I just feel like they're so balanced and they have a quarterback, because I think people also kind of forget Russell Wilson had his moments in the playoffs. Like, I mean, he's still the same guy. What, 4 interceptions or 5 interceptions? The Brandon Bostic one?
Mm-hmm.
5
picks.
I don't think you're getting that with Darnold. I just don't.
No.
So, yeah, I think this, because, I mean, I'll say I think the Rams right now, this is the best iteration of a Sean McVay Rams team. So this would probably make the Rams, this is probably the best Rams team I've seen. I mean, it might be better than the greatest show on turf. I mean, we're like, this might be the team, right? I'm serious. This might be the team. And I think Seattle, if it's up there better than the Legion of Boom, this might be their team. This might be the 2 best iterations of these franchises that we're seeing this Sunday. Do not take this game for granted for a second. But I do think the Rams break your road streak. I'm sorry.
I think it's a real possibility all the way around. And when it comes to the break in the road streak, with this Rams game, and I am prognosticating a win, but at the end of the day, like it's on us at this point, like as far as to prove that we're ready to take you guys out, be it McVay's general ownership of the Seahawks since he's become head coach, Stafford's ownership of the Seahawks since he's come in there to that team, just all those in general, versus where you guys have been at recently in your playoff success and actually, doing better in the last couple of years on that. So, it is on us at this point to say, can we stand up with you guys? Not, oh, well, we just walk into this, everybody just takes for granted we can stand up with you guys. And I think you make a great point as well. We talk about the potentiality of these teams. That's what you're speaking to, the potentiality. What's the ceiling of my Rams team? What's the ceiling of my Seahawks team? And I think I tend to agree with you. I think that there's a ceiling here for a collective teams to be at the best that we have seen in our franchise history. Doesn't mean that they're going to reach it. It does mean there's still, to me, a ways to go for both these teams to get to that stage of where they're humming at that place. But both of them have in common, they've gotten better and better as the year gone along. They haven't felt like they played their best football so far early on in the part of the season, that it has been it's getting better. Oh, it's getting better. And this is why you're now seeing the Rams, as you said early in the year, we don't blow teams out. Now you're suddenly blowing teams out here over the past couple weeks at times, right?
This
So,
is true.
Bit
But
by
I
bit,
did
man.
I didn't, go back on my pick. I did pick 31-19 Rams over the 49ers. And I guess that would have been considered a blowout. And at one point, it looked like it was going to be like 31-20. And then they're like, oh, no, Sean McVay's not taking the foot off the gas. I'm like, by all means, just keep doing you.
You can see it coming. I predict the same thing with the Rams last week, too, where you could see this starting to build up and come. It's not something that just where the Niners were at. It's where you as a team have come to. And that's something I've learned through the years with football is you capture with the eyes in week 2 and you're like, well, that's my team. And you don't think about it as a development process. And it really is one. And I think it's as much as one now, Jake, because of the lack of practice time you have in the offseason, the lack of the two-a-days, the way the coaches protect things now early in the part of the season, all the much more it's got to build to this thing as you're trying to keep your team fresh, essentially, to be at their best at the right time of year.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And, I don't know if you've seen, you probably have the point differential. There's a 5.
Oh, yeah.
There's a 5-point difference between the two teams. I mean, that's insane. And I know the Colts are going to come back down to earth on that differential, I think. I mean, by the end of the year, it's going to be Rams or Seahawks. And both these teams are on a 4-game win streak, which, by the way, that is the second best win streak in the league, only behind the Broncos and the Patriots, who have won 7 straight. And, man, the Broncos don't make it look pretty. The Patriots can. Patriots have a 5-0 record on the road. The Broncos do not. Broncos lose at home.
Fraudulent. They're fraudulent, aren't they?
My biggest issue with Denver, well, I can't stand Sean Payton, but my biggest issue with Denver football-wise is that I just think Bo Nix is not to be trusted. I don't like Bo Nix. I don't think he is that great. I think he's good, but when you get in the postseason and you're in the AFC, stop saying that. When you get in the postseason, the quarterbacks that he could face, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, that's just off the top of my head. Drake May, potentially, who's playing out of his mind. Then if you go to the Super Bowl, you're talking about the way Darnold's playing, Stafford, Jalen Hurts. He's won it, though, to be fair. He's won it.
And he's a different quarterback sometimes in the playoffs, too, to your point. He sometimes has been able to play at a little bit of a different level when he gets there.
But that's the thing. Do you trust Bo Nix in a game that goes back and forth? I mean, I don't.
No,
I
don't
think
either.
He's gotten away with games that any of our quarterbacks throw 3 picks in and they lose the game. And they've somehow gotten them out of those games. The Texans game was insane. They won that game because CJ Stroud got concussed. They won 18-15. Nix was not great in that game. He went 18 of 37 in that game. So, yeah, you said the Broncos are fraud. I agree. They should have lost to the Giants. I don't really feel great. I was really high on Denver coming into the year because I was like, all right, maybe I'm just going to talk myself into Bo Nix. And rightfully so, they're 8-2. So I kind of nailed it on that. But I haven't talked myself into Bo Nix, Brandon, and I don't think I'm going to. I like Drake May a lot more than I like Bo Nix. I do.
I think Nix is just kind of a guy that you were going to get as an older prospect coming in there that was going to hit the ground relatively running, but he was also going to top you out to the ceiling of what he had to offer very quickly because it's not a guy that's going to, be 20 years old coming in here and he's, wait till he gets to be 25 and then you're really going to get it. And Payton's doing a lot of, I think, some of the heavy lifting for him, some of the early success he has had there a little bit. But I just think it's long-term. There's some potentiality there with the Broncos to me. Year down the line, 2 years down the line, as they get the roster and a couple of other places, maybe some more position players on the outside to throw to that can be a little more dynamic. But I just can't quite buy into what they're doing right now. Cooper Gay, thank you for the $2 donation. All I ask for is fair officiating in LA. I would say the same.
That's fair.
I would say the same on this. I've got some games against LA's at times in recent years, man, that have been dodgy at times with some of the calls.
And I mean, to be fair to Brandon, he had my back in the 49er game. He's like, there's no way you could call that. I don't know how, you were, because you were out of it, but you were in it, and
I was seeing it clear. I was seeing it true.
You saw it. You saw the way you looked over at me. You looked at me like I was a sobbing child. Like you're like, oh, Jake, I'm so sorry. Because what's his face? Dolak ripped the ball out on the kickoff.
Oh, yeah.
And somehow the 49ers got it because the Rams have been on the opposite end, the losing end, we'll call it, of what the hell is it called? Forward progress calls 6 times this year. I've never seen anything like it. It is insane. And of course, like 2 of those were against Jalen Hurts. One in which Verse ripped the ball out on the tush push. And they just, no, Jalen Hurts is just going to like, ooh, I'm Superman and fly over the pile. Then you can't rip the ball out because once you do, and the ball was out, by the way, and he's going to recover it and run it back for a touchdown, which no big deal. It's not like they would have won the game or anything. They blow the whistle dead. The ball's out. It's like, oh, no, that's not fair. No. We were gonna give them a chance to. Didn't you know this is a trap play? This is a trap card, like a one of those, I don't know, Magic the Gathering, where it's like if I play this, I win. You don't win. There's no win for you. That's the Eagles tush push. But yeah, you saw it. We all saw it. He's moving his legs. Ball gets ripped out. 49ers still possess it. Unreal.
Yeah, the officials don't know what to do on the tush push. That's why you got to remove it. It's too much arbitrary stuff in there, from jumping off sides to things like the fumble and early whistles being blown. That's one of the things I hate with officials is most, by the way, is early whistles blowing a play. Let it play through. We can always challenge stuff. Don't blow a whistle early. Be blowing it late, if anything. I hate that part when they do that. But that was definitely a fumble. It was a fumble, and it's just get the push out in the offseason, please. I'm good with it. Let's move on. Matthew Plowden with a $20 donation over on Jake's side. Thank you for that, Matthew. Very kind of you. Let's get a little applause for Matthew on that. Thank you.
Been a member for like, I think 50 months now. OG.
50 months. Let's go. That is an OG. He says, what's up, Jake? What's up, Brandon? Rams fan, but has always been a huge Largent fan. Great guy and story. Maybe the 2 best teams in the NFL, IMO. Rams, 31-28. Well, indeed, we had, and today won't be the day for it because it'll be a deep debate we're going to have to go into at some point. Maybe the next show.
I knew you were going with that.
Me and Jake got into it because Jake got triggered by a Twitter post about a month ago that was put out of the best the all-time NFC West lineup, essentially. And the wide receivers were out there, and we had Jerry Rice out there. And Largent was one of the wide receivers out there, and Jake mentioned that he thought that it should be Isaac Bruce, I think, as far as the pecking order between Largent and him. Yes. So we'll get into it someday. If you guys want, you can look at our Twitter timelines and look at us going back and forth on it. It's a pretty good debate. I think we'll definitely maybe do that on the next show at some point, because I'd like to pick your brain on that one a little bit and get to the depths of it. No, but cool. Largent was a great player, man. Matthew, he played on what was essentially a franchise just beginning, just starting. When you have a franchise that's like that, you don't have a lot of great players around you. You got a lot of guys that maybe shouldn't even be in the league, but you're filling out the roster at that point. And yet, he's the only dangerous weapon for about a 10-year period. Double team, snap in and snap out. He was not a slot guy. A lot of people go, he's like Wes Welker. He's like no, he was not a slot guy. He was an outside. You know why they're saying that? Because he's white. Yeah. He's white and small. And so it's like that must be the way it is. Like, no. He's outside receiver that was also double teamed constantly and beat double teams. I mean, that's the key with him, is not just that he beat the guy on the outside, not just that the corners of those times, the best corners of the time would tell you this is the best receiver in the sport, but that he was doing it against double teams every week because there was nobody else that was a threat on that offense. There's some other things too with this, like poor quarterback play, having guys like Zorn and Craig that were fine, but they weren't the best quarterbacks throwing him the rock. And he still produced, and he still had a hell of a career, and just a great. If you ever get a chance to, Jake, I never saw the situation with him of when he gets his jaw broke, where he goes across the middle. Go watch. It's one of the all-time great stories. I'm not doing this at Homer. It's there's been videos done on it. I do it on my channel, but there's been tons of them done. So he's against Denver, and the Denver safety comes over with the double team, does the old school move now where you can't do it anymore, takes the elbow, goes right across his jaw and fractures his jaw on the play completely. Hell? Even back then, it was a legal hit at the time. He got fined at the time, but it's now you might get executed on the field if you were to do that.
You're not kidding.
3 weeks later, 3 or 4 weeks later, back in the kingdom. Go check this out.
Yeah.
You got Largent back on the field because he's just a tough SOB. So he's out there jaw wired shut, right?
Yes.
And Craig throws an interception in the back of the end zone to Mike Harden, the guy that broke his jaw 3 weeks earlier. He's returning the interception. Largent gets him dead to the rights, hits him as hard as you will see any player gets hit. I mean, Largent just lit him up to where the guy's Superman backwards mode, hitting him that hard, like off of his feet like that, causes a fumble. He hits him so hard. Go watch it. It's one of the great, because you never get revenge on the NFL field, right? A guy does guy dirty. He never is able to go get him back for that dirtiness he did him. This is the one time in NFL history that you got to see it happen. And it was with a guy as large, who's already just this great player, but it's one of the more legendary stories in Hawk fan history, because he lit the guy up. I mean, just got him back. Great. It was so cool.
That's crazy. No, even though my dad, well, obviously it makes sense because the Rams and Seahawks weren't even in the same division when Largent was playing. But my dad actually even said, he's like, oh, I really like Steve Largent, when he was younger. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of respect there, I mean,
I grew up on him.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for him. I was trying to kind of explain that. I just think Isaac Bruce, probably one of the more underrated receivers, should have been first ballot. I still think he was better than Terrell Owens. And the reason I say that is because he's a better route runner. And he showed you. So Owens, there's so many times throughout his career where Owens had like nobody on the other side. And so we always look at that like, oh, well, he was going to get double teamed, right? Well, I also look at that like, look at how much opportunity he had. Because like Arnaz Battle was number 2 in San Francisco. So he's getting all those targets, And when you're that good, even getting doubled, you're still going to do your thing. And my argument to that is people would say, well, okay, so Isaac Bruce had Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk, and it was easy for him. He's like, show me a time where he did it, by himself. And I'd say, well, I'll show you 2 times he did it by himself. 95, he had 1,781 yards his second year in the league, and he had over 1,300 yards his third year in the league. And his second year in the league, his quarterbacks were not Kurt Warner, right? His quarterback wasn't, anybody big. It was Chris Miller, Mark Rippon, and Dave Barr. Those are the guys that threw the football. That's it. So, people act like, whoa, you had Kurt Warner. People also forget how long that greatest show on turf lasted. It wasn't very long. The next year, here are the quarterbacks: Steve Walsh, Tony Banks, and Jamie Martin. So he showed, and that was always my argument against Terrell Owens, is that he showed even without, another guy. I mean, he had Eddie Kennison, but Eddie Kennison was a bust. He had a good year. I think he had like 900 yards. But like Eddie Kennison wasn't, helping you out. But the absolute fantastic performance from Isaac Bruce in year 2. Mind you, when he had 1,700 yards, was not given anything for it. This is my argument as why Bruce is so underrated. Bruce didn't get an All-Pro. He didn't get a Pro Bowl. He had 1,781. He caught 119 passes, and he had 13 touchdowns. He was averaging 111 per game, and he did not make a Pro Bowl doing that. And he was doing that. Do you know who the second option was? Because if we're going to do that argument for Terrell Owens, then we might as well just try it with Bruce, right? Who was the second guy that was helping him? Troy Drayton, the tight end. Second wide receiver was Todd Kinchin, then Jesse Hester, then Alexander Wright and Johnny Bailey. I barely even know any of these guys. So Isaac Bruce, I feel like this season never gets talked about because the Rams were 7-9 in 95 with Rich Brooks as head coach. But this season tells me everything about who Isaac Bruce was. And I just feel like people don't realize that. And just the fact that like we're really talking about a season where a guy had almost 1,800 receiving yards, Brandon, and didn't even make the Pro Bowl. Like, what are we actually doing at that point? So, yeah.
Well, that's where I think from my standpoint, that's where I think we're in a lot of agreements on Isaac down the line in a lot of places. Do I think he's a better player than Owens? Yeah, but a big part of that too with Owens with me on that is Owens as a dysfunctional factor in the locker room. And the fact that he blew a couple of different teams up beyond just what he did on the field. I'd say even on the field too, I'm okay with going that argument with it too. I think Isaac Bruce is a Hall of Famer. I think all these things. I think that when it does come to Largent, you talk about unappreciated nature and people don't, I think that is the case with Largent. I think the fact that Jerry Rice came right after him ended up kind of making the greatness of his career go away a little bit because we have a GOAT, a literal NFL GOAT, not just a wide receiver GOAT at that time. But a lot of people when Rice retired thought he was the best NFL player in NFL history. And that just sort of made Largent go to the wayside at that point and sort of toss away what he had really done. And I thought that was unfairly so for how dominant he was during his era. And that's just as much to me with it on the Largent side is that it wasn't just merely he was a good receiver. It was that he's an all-time receiver in what he's doing because all these mitigating factors you talk about, lack of quarterback play, lack of a second option, playing on a bad team, playing on a run-centric team. If you took Largent in that same time period and put him with Joe Montana and he's got Jonathan Taylor and he's got a Roger Craig in the backfield, guess what? Largent's going to go get 15, 16, 17,000 yards too.
Yeah.
That's going to happen as well if he's put over there. So it's not just it is a part you got to take into account, the supporting factor that's there, what they had working in his favor, whether they were not just a run centric thing. And the point we were talking about online with this is it wasn't just that Seattle was a run centric team or that it's that the NFL at that time was completely run centric, that they were not trying to throw the ball at all. And that left down your number of attempts and your number of targets were reduced down, which meant that whatever you did the most with, you had to maximize that to the ultimate. And Largent is an absolute representation on that of every level. Not only were you in a run-centric league at that time, you were one of the most hyper run-centric teams in the league at a time when the league was running across the board. And that's got to be taken a little bit into account where that's not Largent's fault then. And that doesn't then diminish what he's done as far as because he had 200 targets on a season his direction. Well, there's a reason for that. That doesn't necessarily mean he wasn't just every bit that impactful to that side. But again, I want us to get into that debate at some point. We could probably go a while on this one.
Yeah, I mean, they would both be on the roster for sure. I think I would start Bruce. I'd bring Largent off the bench. I'd bring Big Game Holt off the bench. And I'd bring Terrell Owens off the bench. But it's kind of, if you're going out in those two wide receiver sets, I don't know if you can really justify anybody as crazy as it sounds. And I mean, Cooper Kupp was great and Puka Nacua is fantastic, but his story isn't written yet. There's nobody that is going to pass, obviously Jerry Rice, but Larry Fitzgerald, who somehow is still underrated in a lot of respects. I don't feel like he's ever talked about in that conversation, despite the fact he's up there and has all the numbers too. So maybe that's because of the ring. I don't know. But yeah, I think to have Larry and Jerry as your two receivers and then to have, we're just going to bring Steve Largent and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and, rotate all of them, Terrell Owens off the bench. I don't know who's stopping that. I also think when we get a chance to, our NFC West all-time roster is going to destroy everyone else's.
I would tend to agree with that, man. And it's going to be fun to do that show eventually as we kind of carve those up. We got to play all of our left tackles though as guards and centers. That's the only we got guys left tackles playing right tackle and all that.
All right, well, the Rams had vision for Trent Williams. Did you hear about
exactly.
that?
I did. Yeah. I like their vision of that too. I mean, I could see why they tried to run it up the flagpole with him and just see if Whitworth is going to retire eventually, transition back out there. But initially I like it, man. I mean, I see why Trent said no. You get paid at the same level at guard that you are at tackle. So it's and we know Trent likes to get paid. So.
But he would have a ring if he did that. So there's that.
That's the thing. What's more important? I was just saying. Of course, he probably thought going to the Niners, he was going to have a good chance doing that too as well. Fair. All right. Well, we've got the donos stacking up here, man, and I've got about 25 minutes here. So we got to roll through these donos fairly quickly. Mumbles, thank you for the $5. Appreciate you waiting on this. By the way, folks, we will get to these. Also feel bad for whatever two divisions that are on the NFC West schedule next year. It's going to be rough for them. Yeah, indeed. It ain't getting any easier next year on this. I mean, none of these teams are going to likely take any major step backwards, especially the Niners. They get that money back. Yeah. Or that's AFC West and what's the NFC? NFC East? I think it is. Ooh, I could go for some NFC East at this point, couldn't you? That's like some succulent. I think you're right. Chicken right there. Because I don't have anything on the East Coast for the NFC East. I think I saw it. Let's see. It is going to be a couple of games in person out on the East Coast next year. NFC East. Yep. Yeah. Cowboys, there we go. Giants. Yeah. Yep. West will be tough. Chargers will be better next year with their linemen back, and Raiders, you got to feel like got to be somehow better. They can't get worse, right? Chiefs will still be there, and looks Broncos like Rams, Lions again, because they would have so it would be the NFC North
Well, I guess it really depends. I mean, if the Rams win the division and the Lions win the division, then so it'll be Rams, Packers, or Rams, Lions, and for the Seahawks, it'll be Seahawks, Lions, or Seahawks, Packers. And then the AFC. Oh, we got the AFC East, so that's either going to be the Bills or Patriots. So there you go.
So it's going to be a tougher schedule next year than this year's schedule. We got the benefits this year of a really easy. Next year will be a little bit tougher. Next one. Thank you, Mumbles.
The South, which winner's going to play Tampa, and the second place is going to play somebody who's nowhere near Tampa.
It's a big difference on the first place to second place schedule for this year to next year on that, to your point of that, though, because those are some tough games. Like you're playing Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. It's like, well, there's a bit of a difference there and there.
Yeah, absolutely.
On those two matchups. Jay Melfair, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, game of the year so far, best two teams.
It's the paper game of the year right now.
Paper game of the year. I mean, you have two teams that are, the record would state that, but beyond the record, just how they're playing and how good they've gotten and how they've continued to progressively get better to this place of where the record's at. The fact that you can look at both of their two records and say each of these two teams could be 9-0 with a couple breaks this way and that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's the case, Melfer, for sure. Jack Maloney, thank you for the $7 donation, Jack. If we win this game, we beat the 7.5 win total. Suck it, Vegas. They deserve to get embarrassed on TV.
Oh my
Las Vegas
God.
Looks like us 4 years ago. Really dumb team.
You did not have a 7.5 win total. Tell me that's not true.
And we did. I've been sitting here for the last 2 years with the Vegas saying, go get some money, folks, because last 2 years they've had us at 7.5 wins.
That's
saying,
freaking ridiculous.
Oh, it was. It was
that's
absolutely
so
just.
stupid.
I don't know what Vegas is seeing in Seattle. I guess they didn't trust the Darnold thing, and maybe they looked at the Geno and DK thing, and that's where they did the math. But yeah, that was an easy bet to go jump on there with that. And Vegas, Jackson Powers Johnson goes down for the year. You could have moved him in a trade. You weren't sold on him as a player. Max Crosby, you probably could have gotten 3 first-round picks at the trade deadline if you're willing to move him. We're hearing reports Seattle was trying on that, by the way, Jake. We were trying on that. We were close on that one, by the way.
Could have seen
but
that.
I think Carroll, as much as anything, was like, wait, I trade Max to Seattle. They go win a Super Bowl. I'm in Vegas. I got fired. I kind of wonder about Carroll on that one coming
Pete
in.
Carroll's still trying to calculate, do I get a Super Bowl ring if I trade?
Yeah. I was like, well, what? But then I just went to the thing with around the deal with the. I do think we make a run again at Max this offseason, though. So keep an eye on that. I think that's one this offseason that we're going to go take a look at. So we'll see what they do. But the Raiders need to get their head out of their ass and start understanding this roster is not ready. And when it's sell mode, sell. When it's buy mode, buy. And that team, instead of selling, went, well, let's just watch it a little bit longer and see what happens.
And they took way less than they should have for Jacoby Myers. I don't get it.
They just kind of gave him away. But it's again, it's like you should have probably moved Jacoby Myers before the start of the season, right? You probably shouldn't have tried to think that you could be a contender this year in year one under Carroll with where that roster's at. But that's Carroll with his positivity and trying to, everything look at with a sort of the silver lining or with bright eyes. And it's like
1,000-yard season from Myers, and you don't sell high on that. I don't know what you're doing.
I don't either, especially because he wants a contract and you don't want to pay him. It's again comes back to what do you want to do? Esser, get off the pot. And I was like, we'll just hold him and he'll be mad, and then we'll just get nothing for him at the trade deadline. And well done, Raiders, you won. You win on that one.
They kept asking him, do you want to be in Vegas? No.
He's telling you, just let it go, man. That's Vegas for you, though. This is why, as we were talking earlier, bad teams are bad teams for a reason. They stay perpetually in the same place because they will not change their ways. They will not open their eyes up and stop operating with such idiocracy at times at just about every turn. Even when you get new guys in there, new GMs in there, it's like they can't help themselves.
It's true.
Jason Ellenbogen coming back in again. Thank you, Pops, for another $5 over on your side. Says we actually rooted hard for the Cardinals in the Super Bowl when Warner was there. Well, it was the Steelers are going up against 2. How could you not? Right?
We just loved Warner. I rooted for Warner against the Rams because I knew the Rams, they were bad. They had no chance, and it would just make their pick better. And Kurt Warner, I got bitter, man. I got bitter the way the Rams treated Warner. So I wanted Warner to stick it to them every time they played, truthfully.
Yeah, they pivoted fast from Warner to Bolger. That was a quick one. Martz was a little bit of a weirdo on that situation, I thought. It was definitely prematurely by the fact that, he goes on and still does what he does with the Cardinals as he's an older player at that point. There was definitely a way to still find success with them there with the Rams. They just didn't get very imaginative with it. They kind of sold soon, which is NFL teams don't tend to do that even back then that quickly for a team that had gone to back-to-back Super Bowls. Kind of strange. I know there was a little bit of thought from them at that time that like the magic had washed off him or something, but it wasn't magic that made him happen. It was that he's a good player and a good quarterback. Just get the roster built back up again.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind his first freaking game with the Rams. And we know he has the weapons at this point, but he's going against the Ravens defense. That's how you knew. Yeah. Like that first game, he shredded the Ravens defense in that first game. And it's like, you go back, you watch that game and you're like, that's not a fluke. I know it's week 1, but that's not a fluke. Like you're watching him make these throws and holding Ray Lewis with his eyes. Like, oh my God.
I don't think since Joe Burrow's the first since Warner of the throws with anticipation and accuracy. It was the combination of those two things because he wasn't the guy with the biggest arm. He had a fine arm, but it was that he could anticipate those breaks and on those deeper intermediate routes and then put the ball at just the right spot for the receivers coming out of those breaks that were such good route runners in Horton and Bruce. And it just really stood out to that. It's a hard skill to see because you so often look for the arm strength or the big size or the mobility. But the throwing with anticipation and throwing anticipation with accuracy is also just as an important a skill for a quarterback.
It is. By the way, that's why I was so high on Shedeur Sanders coming out this year. I thought he did a good job of that. It's kind of underrated.
He is a good anticipatory thrower. Yeah. It seems like Cleveland hates him though.
I feel like they just drafted him so he would never play ever for anybody.
I feel like they got the second they drafted, like the NFL forced them into it or something. They seem mad about him being on the roster as much as anything else. It's like, geez. And you watch Dylan Gabriel playing, you're like, is it really worse than this?
Is it not exactly what we expected? Dylan Gabriel will be a good backup in the league, like when he gets his feet under him, but he's not a starter.
It's not a starter. It's not a franchise guy. A 5'7" guy with another team. Again, just these guys, they can't help themselves but to do stupid stuff over and over again. And it just, I don't get it. It's openly dumb. It looks openly dumb. And it just, why are you doing this? What are you doing? At least Cleveland did something smart last draft though with that Jaguars pick because they're going to come out of it like you guys did on the end. I mean, unbelievable to go get an extra future first round pick. I hope my Hawks do that if we ever get that opportunity to do that.
Hey, there's a lot of dumb teams out there. You wait long enough, you get, you pump up whoever. And yeah, I mean, Jackson Dart is the reason why the Giants trade up. And, then I mean, that's actually the weirdest thing. James Pierce Jr., like, he had off the field issues, and so did Mike Green. I thought Mike Green was the better player, so I don't know what we're doing. Mike Green went in the second round,
and I just don't produce immediately like that. I mean, if they produce, they're going to give you 4 sacks and pressures. That's what them producing is as a rookie edge. They take a while to get there. So if you're making a go for it move now for an edge that's not going to give you jack, and right now I think he's got like a sack. Walker's got like 3, and like.
Yeah,
that's not going to get you're giving the Rams a top 10 first round pick now.
They weren't even playing Walker.
Approach. Huh?
What'd you say? Playing Walker. Like they just started playing him, and he's immediately contributing. Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't. I'll always say this: there are teams like the Ravens who just sit back, they let all the stupidity happen in front of them, and then they'll just find guys like.
Malachi Starks too, who they got in this last draft, just got to pick this last week. Partly got him because people couldn't understand how good a player he was, coming out.
Eagles do the same thing. Jahad Campbell just fell into the lap. I mean, we were talking about him. He's going to go top 15, and then here he is. It's like all these
teams passed on him that needed inside linebacker help. There were teams that had needed inside linebacker help. They were like, nah, we'll just let that guy drift back into the Eagles. Like, okay.
Who's the team that traded the 32nd overall pick to the freaking Ravens so they could go get that 5th-year option and draft Lamar Jackson? That's what I want to know. Who's the idiot team that didn't just take him themselves? I'm going to look that up while you continue.
There's a couple on that one I think we can pass to. Bryce Coots in the house. I'm going to be collaborating with Bryce here in about 25 minutes on the Seahawks Syndicate here on this channel.
What's up,
but Bryce? Thank you, Bryce. Coming in with a $50 donation.
Let's go.
Let's go. Appreciate you, Bryce, for that. Let's go. He says, love the collaboration for a preview of this matchup. Rams are the last true obstacle for the Hawks team to arrive as true contenders. Stafford is MVP frontrunner, IMO. Great work, guys, on both of your channels. Well, thank you, Bryce. Very, very kind of you, man. That's a monstrous donation. I really appreciate your support and look forward to being able to chop it up with you in about 20 minutes over on the syndicate. But I've got to echo his sentiments on this, and that Stafford would be, if we ended the season today, as much as I love how Darnold's play, Stafford is my MVP right now. This is the guy that is by far and away should be the guy winning it if he can. I mean, he's had this great career with some seasons that are absolutely bananas as far as productivity goes, and yet he is on pace to best his numbers across the board. Be it, if not, supersede yards, get close to doing so, and definitely even supersede the number of touchdown passes he's had in a season. I think he's got to be the guy you got to say has played the best.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this on the roundtable, and you guys saw the direction I was going in pretty early on, and I was just like, guys, I got to be honest, this is the best he's ever looked, and feels like the media is almost there, but we're still seeing, well, what about Drake May? And it's like, I don't get it. I think Drake May is awesome. I do. I feel very good about him long term, but can't we just leave that, like, long term Drake May could be like a face of this league? Why can't we just give him props? Why does he have to be the favorite to win the MVP just because he's on a team that you weren't expecting to be as good as they were? And that's what it just feels like, And honestly, it feels like they're morphing the MVP where it's a combination of this team wasn't that good last year, now they're great, and then in addition to that, they're also morphing it with most improved player of the year. That's what it feels like. It feels like Drake May being number one right now is almost like you're trying to have both, even though there's already an award for most improved player.
100% agreed. And it shouldn't be that. That's not the way. I know that the MVP and what is MVP is, it can differ person to person, but I do track this down. Maybe I'm paranoid on this. I do track this down to more of an East Coast bias thing. The majority of the writers are on the East Coast, writing for East Coast publications. And I don't think they watch all the games on the West Coast. I mean, sometimes those guys, they're going to bed when it's prime time and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to watch the game. And I've seen this with coaching here. I don't think Coach Carroll ever won a coach of the year when he was here. I don't think Schneider's ever won a general manager of the year, even when you got your Super Bowls. It's just, if you're a West Coast team, and I made my peace with this, it's going to be hard to win those kind of awards. You've got to not only win the award, you got to like go over the top. So like Sean Alexander, when he won the MVP for us, right?
Yeah.
How'd he do it? Setting a touchdown record to do it. That's what it took. And not just the 1,800-yard season, but you also put up the touchdown record. So it's kind of an equivalency here for Stafford. Probably going to have to throw 50 touchdowns and 4,700 yards, and then that'll be enough to do it. He's kind of on pace to kind of get in there. So he's sort of rolling towards that, but it doesn't, whether he does or not, he should, whether they do give it to a guy like Dre Make. And I would track that back to it just completely being East Coast at that point.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's fair. I'm going to throw this at you. Okay.
Hit me with it.
The Lamar Jackson trade, you're not going to believe who actually traded with the Ravens.
Who was it?
The Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, wow.
Now, I'm not going to give them shit because they had Carson Wentz at this time. So,
well, but it's to your point, it's probably a little bit of a sub-driver to the Jalen Hurts selection later on, though, right? Where they're not thinking Jalen Hurts is Lamar, but we can do a lot of the same thing with Jalen in this offense as Lamar was able to do it in his offense.
Yeah, no, so that's definitely for certain. It looks as though they only got Avonte Maddox from this deal. When you're
not getting a lot on four places or five places late in the first round. That ain't getting you nothing. Yeah, you got to go back into the depths of the second, like you guys did. Like you guys went to the depth, not the depths, but you win. We lose our first round pick. We ain't picking now back to the second round. Like that's
Dallas Goedert. Okay. They got Dallas Goedert, Avonte Maddox, and then they got a second rounder in 2019, and that was
pretty good haul, actually. The 19 second rounder on top of that.
Yeah, no, that's surprising. They got JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Oh lordy, the man taken before DK Metcalf.
Oh no. Not good.
And Roseman's brilliant. And Roseman's just so brilliant.
Oh no, my bad. They drafted JJ Arcega-Whiteside with their pick. With the Ravens pick they drafted Miles Sanders. So that's not bad.
He's all right.
Miles Sanders, 1,000-yard rusher. Dallas Goedert, one of the better tight ends in the league when you got him. And Avonte Maddox, a good slot guy. For Lamar Jackson, though, would you make that trade? I wouldn't.
Well, they didn't know Lamar was going to be Lamar, but for moving back in the first round like they did, if I'm moving back that many spaces and I can pick up a second round pick, I would do it. I think if you stay in the first round and you move back, but you get the second, that's worthwhile. If you could do what you guys did, where I'm essentially out of the first round now, I need the future first rounder to do that. The risk is on us now. You got to give us that if we're giving you back. So that's why you guys got tremendous value. Bryce, thank you, man, again for the huge donation. And we'll be seeing you here in about 15 minutes here. Craig Bland. Let me say it right, Craig. Sorry about that. Not Greg, but Craig. He says, glad you got to the game, Jake. I hope the Rams D is still Darnold's kryptonite. Should be a great game.
Appreciate you, Craig. Yeah, it should be. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad I was able to get there. A lot of fun. And I will say this. Levi's is not that bad. It's not. It's way better than MetLife, I think. I will say I don't like, I think the thing I hate most about it is that Candlestick had an ambiance to it. It was in the city. It was in San Francisco. You're out here in like the middle of Nowheresville out here in Santa Clara. Like you're like, we just randomly put an NFL stadium out here in Nowheresville. And that's the part and there's nothing going on around the stadium really. And it's like, they're trying to like build businesses. Like it's the thing that's causing everything to be built maybe a little bit, but like, it's just, I don't like that. I like the stadium to be in the city, Well, so apparently there was like the big building boom or whatever, where they just built so many business buildings and all that. Like I was hearing like you could have gotten like an office building for like free. They were like giving them out like hotcakes because they built too many. Now they've really built too many. They're like all abandoned outside the stadium. There's so many office buildings that are just abandoned.
Which just makes it look even more, empty and just feels even more like, what are we doing out here? Is this an Amazon fulfillment center or am I actually coming out here to watch a game?
Yeah.
I feel like a little bit with it.
Crazy.
Thank you though, Craig. Appreciate you. L Pineapples with one of your moderators with a $5 as well. Thank you, L Pineapples. Says with how much your Hawks run match coverage, it could be that it's a constant miscommunication on certain sets the offense comes out in. Certainly going to be important. We do run a lot of man match stuff, and that there's a lot of complicated nature to how you run your coverages with what we do. We like to protect against stuff deep, but we also like to try to match your concepts that we're seeing you tend to run out of this formation, and we're trying to pre-establish matching with it versus reading it a little bit on the fly. Like the Niners are a little bit of, I think, a read on the fly defense like that, where it's like, we'll drop to depth and find the guy. There's a little bit more of willingness to sink in defensively onto the routes a little bit tighter. But with that communication, to your point, L Pineapples, if you don't have everybody on the right thing prior to the snap in that communication, if one guy misses the memo, you're left with a wide open guy running free in this defense at times. And that has been something that can happen because there are so many details on every given coverage centric play that just one guy, one little minor detail can throw it kind of out of whack.
No, that's definitely true. Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. Is what's his face playing? Job. Job
should play. Yeah.
Okay.
He had the concussion. Hard to get back the 1 week on the concussion, but he's 2 weeks back. But the thing with this is Woolen's been out there rolling and looks actually motivated. That's the thing with Woolen. Like he's got all the talent in the world, all the ability in the world. He's just not always locked in. He's a former wide receiver convert to the quarterback position. You see this happen with Trayvon Diggs at times with the Cowboys. Those former receivers kind of have the receiver mentality on defense a little bit at times. It's what you get with them. But when he's locked in, man, he can drape, he can cover. And he was doing this last week, and he's last 2 games, especially, he's really, really coming on strong, trying to earn himself a big contract this offseason.
Yeah. And then there was Pineapples just said couldn't fit everything in there. That's why y'all had to give up too much to tight ends was my point. So,
that's why we're giving up too much time. Yeah, I think it's what I think is happening on those rollouts to the tight ends a little bit is that this defense this year loaded up in anticipation for where offenses were going in the NFL this year. Offenses were going to run the ball. Offenses were going to run more 12 and 13 personnel this year in general across the NFL. McDonald and his defense does have vulnerabilities naturally, schematically within his defense to be vulnerable against the run because of the amount of light boxes that we tend to run. And so in anticipation of that, I think that there was a little bit of a loading up from a philosophy standpoint by the Hawks defense throughout this offseason to make stopping the run a point of emphasis. But now when you get 12 and 13 personnel, stopping the run being the high point of emphasis, you run that play action stuff like the Rams do with Stafford, and now you're rolling back out. You've got those guys kind of taking that step towards the run play first. Everything's kind of going to the gap integrity first. And okay, now we get back to the passing attack. Some defenses, I think, do it differently, but that's part of why I think we've been susceptible. It's not necessarily that we can't cover tight ends. It's that we are, to your point, Pineapple's kind of blowing a little bit of times that coverage at times. And it's to the short side because we try to cover to it deep.
I like that. See, I love how in tune Brandon is with his team. And the schematic aspect of it. We could talk ball all day. We're pretty much doing it right now.
we are giving you 3.5 hours here. Oh my goodness. Femi, thank you for the $2 donos. I swear I've been trying to get through the donos as fast as possible, Jake. They're just piling up. We must have got about 55 of them here today. So
I hear you, man.
Femi, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, "Oh, why does Greg O have to call our game?" He's not well liked out there as Greg Olson.
Oh, that's
I'm kind of
Greg Olson.
I'm okay with him.
So
as far as he's okay for me on that.
Greg Olson, who's the guy he does it with?
I forget the guy's name.
Because he used to be on with KB, and now KB's with Tom Brady.
I do think that O's better than Brady. I'm not a big fan of Brady and how he calls necessarily a game. He's okay.
I like Brady. He's gotten a lot better, I will say.
He has improved. That's true. He was rough at first.
I think Greg Olson's very good. Oh, it's Joe Davis. I love Joe Davis. One of the best.
There we go.
He's one of the best play-by-play guys in the business, in my opinion. Baseball,
he's good.
Football, it doesn't matter. Joe Davis is spectacular.
All right, so we've got about 4 donos left in here. We're going to go and wrap up on these 4 donos. I never like to say let's not put any more donos in, but I've got a hard out at 4, and we got 13 minutes here. So we got to wrap in through, and we got to do the sleeper thing here too. Matthew Plowden, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, not only is the NFC West the best division in football, but we have the best content creators as well. All top-notch guys. Well, thank you for that, man. That's very kind of you to say, brother.
He's right.
Appreciate you for that, Matthew. Very, very, very kind. I agree, man. Our guys kick ass in this division, in this roundtable and what they do. These guys work their butts off. They're constantly grinding. They're constantly trying to put out great content. They love their teams, passionate about it. Everything you could really want, I think, in a content creator we got in this roundtable. And that's why we're kicking everybody's ass, man. That's why we're number 1 right now in the roundtable circuit. That's why we're going to have another remote session next year, because they know who's captain in the ship. We're the captain now. This is us looking at the rest of the roundtable. Hey, we're the captain now.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Good time here to thank the sponsor of the show. Thank you for Jake for reminding me of that. Let's get the sponsor on in here today, and that's going to be Sleeper. Sleeper, the #1 sports app in the game. They're running it, and they are beating everybody up on it. You got more picks, more options. You got basketball, baseball. Pair them together. Get your overs, your unders. Go into your daily fantasy. Have you lost your fantasy league already? Recoup some of that pride today by getting it on the Sleeper app, and they will match you up to 100% of your first deposit up to $100 when you use my code, NEST, or you use Jake's code.
JKB.
JKB.
I wasn't showing on the screen, so I wasn't sure I was in there.
Oh, yeah. We can hear you. I keep you on the mic with it. So JKB or NEST, both of them will match you up to 100% of your first deposit. You can see here, I've got the picks on the side. You like my picks on the side here, Jake? Cup over 29.5, Higbee over 20.5, and Kyron over 59.5. I think you guys are going to try to run this game.
I like it.
So we got the Jake of approval on that. You can also get a free $20 donation on top of this just for creating a login, $20 into your account. So $120 from me and Jake to you through the Sleeper app. Terms and conditions do apply. Please see their site for details, but nice $120 in your pocket to support our shows at the very same time. You know what we call that in my area? A win-win-win, Jake. Everybody wins at that point. Everybody does. Last couple of donations here, and sorry if we're kind of plowing through these a little quicker. I got to get over at 4:00 to another show here. Jason, you've been so kind. Thank you for another donation on your end. He looks like he's on the sticks too. I just noticed that, huh? Pretty nice with the sticks.
Oh, he's a great drummer.
Let's go.
Great drummer.
My dad's a drummer too. We got that in common a little bit.
How about that?
Jason, thank you again for that $5. Says this is the 4th highest rated Rams team in history on Pro Football Reference after 67, 2001, and 1973. That legendary 73 squad. That would have been the that was the front four. That was, you guys had a nickname, didn't they?
Yeah,
they had the nickname on
Fearsome
that.
One Rams.
The Fearsome Foursome. There we go.
I think
yeah,
that
one of
was
the great nicknames.
So 1973, was that still the? It probably was.
Wasn't it? Merlin Olsen's a friend of mine. He comes over to my house often. You remember that reference in the movie? Anchorman reference. Merlin
That was
Olsen
the
and me are
year.
great friends.
You're funny. That was the year that actually, do you know who they drafted?
Who they draft that year?
They drafted the origin of how I became a Rams fan. My dad grew up next to Jim Youngblood. So they drafted Jim Youngblood. They also drafted Ron Jaworski.
Oh, let's go.
And they drafted Fred Dreyer too. So
Fred Dreyer, good player.
Yeah.
Underrated Rams teams in there, man. This and then that was the front fours.
And they ran into the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, that was a tough Cowboys team. They were rolling at that time. What are you going to do, you know?
You're right, though. This team was crazy with Fred Dreyer, Merlin Olsen, Jack Youngblood. It wasn't the Fearsome Foursome, I don't believe, but you still had some of the remnants from the Fearsome Foursome. Isaiah Robertson, fantastic. Probably the best inside linebacker the Rams have had. So, yeah, they had Larry Brooks was great. Yeah, they had a great roster. So
they certainly did.
Yeah.
Quick two, just give me a one or the other on this.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Dickerson or Marshall Faulk?
So tough. I'm going to go Marshall Faulk because of his pass protection ability and his pass catching ability. He's what you see with Christian McCaffrey times that by 3, and that's Marshall Faulk.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I think he had it even more so. He was unbelievable player, and the full meal deal, what he brought to your point. Matthew Plowden, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, Jake, I think that 95 season we started 6-0, then won one more game the rest of the year. Is that how that played out? Ooh.
It's like 2016 when everyone's like, they started off 3-1 and Case Keenum's eating victory waffles with Ryan Seacrest, and then they don't win another game until I go and watch Case Keenum take down Bryce Petty against the Jets. Oh, it was awful. 2016 was awful. Goff went 0-7.
Oh,
it was,
yeah. Well, hey, but it got you to McVay, though. That's the thing about it.
That's exactly why I would never trade it away for anything.
Sometimes you gotta go through those low times to appreciate the good times, but to get to the good stuff a little bit there. Appreciate you, Matthew. Again, Matthew, thank you for all of your support today. That's on your side. Thank you for all your donos, and Jason as well. You guys are tremendously kind here in the channel with us today. We got Alec Martin in the house, my man who did this behind me. You can't see it because I got a reflection going, but we got the backdrop up here of our roundtable crew there. Isaac is a cooler name than Steve. Case closed. Well, that's true. Steven is better than even Steve. Steve is, especially Isaac Bruce. I mean, that's just a cool name in general. That last name with two first names always makes you more of a badass. Yeah. You got 2 first names. I mean, it's the way it goes, but you know,
yeah.
Largent's pretty epic. Largent sounds pretty.
The Reverend is what they called him. Reverend Ike.
Reverend Ike. I like it, Alex. Well, thank you for 39 months. Another OG guy on your side over there.
Yeah.
Thank you for all that. And as well, thank you for the help on my backdrop, Alex, making this on this back side.
He picked me up from the airport. He's a real one, man. He really is.
He's the man. He's the man. Thank you for that, man. You're awesome. Phoebe, thank you for the $2 donation. He says, tell Jake about the Mike Vrabel report. You might have to put in the chat what you mean by the Mike Vrabel report.
What did Vrabes do? I'm a big Mike Vrabel fan.
Yeah, if you can put quick in the chat as we're wrapping up what you mean by that, feed me. I'm not too sure on that. What you mean by the Mike Vrabel report? Oh, that the Tennessee Titans. I think we said the Titans. So the Patriots called the Titans for a trade at the trade deadline, and the Titans kabooshed it because they're still bitter about Vrabel for some reason. With him. That was the report.
What's her name? Strunk. Awful. Sell the team. You're terrible. You're an embarrassment.
It comes back to a theme me and Jake have talked about on this channel today, Feed Me, which is that we like to think of this as being a sport of parity and everybody's got a chance at the start of the year. And to a degree, they kind of do. But there's also a lot of teams out there that are just doing so many things openly dumb. Not in like, well, it depends on where your perspective is. No, openly dumb. And that they still continue to operate from that stupidity. Why you wouldn't look to offload anything you could to get any assets you could get back when you're going to be hiring a new coach, all because you're a little bit bitter at the old coach who was frankly right about the fact that you shouldn't have traded AJ Brown, who's frankly right about some of the direction and approach you take. Maybe that should factor in a little bit. Maybe that should be the lesson you learn rather than let's be bitter at Mike. Let's actually think about the fact that he had a point.
Yeah, I agree. And, and then of course it just goes to show you your organization isn't strong, because if you're still that torn up about something that already happened. I mean, he went a full year without coaching.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then look at what a great coach he's been too, in retrospect, the fact you let him go as a coach too. There's another part where you got egg on your face where again, you shouldn't have let him go. He wasn't the problem. The other things were the problem. And
yeah,
again, Titans are going to be bad for probably a long period of time because of this kind of stupid stuff. And Vrabel was a great coach. Part of the reason I looked at him as our coach to replace Carroll. I was a guy, it was him, Harbaugh, and Mike McDonald that were my three choices. And all three of those coaches have shown at these stops they're at right now that they're all legitimate coaches and why they were my top three. When we
couldn't have gone wrong with any of them. But I think McDonald is more long term. Like, you could have him for 3 decades.
And he's got the highest upside, I think, of those three. That's the thing too with it as well. They all got a lot of upside, but I think he's got that highest coaching ceiling of any of them, and that's what we went for. And I love the fact we did it, Jake.
Yes.
Well, we're going to wrap it up on that note, folks. Thank you, Feed Me. You guys, we went almost 3 hours and 40 minutes in here. Let's give Jake a big hand for rocking at the nest this long. These are only supposed to be usually an hour, but we pull them in here for this long, and it's because you guys. We had I think well over 50 donations here in the chat today. So thank you guys all for that support. We will be back over on the NFC West Roundtable later this evening at 6:00. Do join us over there. Please do me this favor as well. And in the link below in this description section, you will find a direct link to Jake's channel. You can do me this favor, go there, hit that link, sub up. It's free to you. And again, me and him are going to be collaborating again this year. We collaborate with the NFC West Roundtable. We're eventually going to drive that roundtable to doing it twice a week here too within the near future. So you want to be following Jake on top of the fact that he does a great job in covering his team. You're going to find a more passionate Ram fan out there in his belief in this team. And just keep kicking ass over there, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Appreciate you, Brando. And over on my channel, the link is in the description. Be sure to check out my guy, Brandon. Check us out on NFC West Roundtable as well. Give both a sub if you can. This dude is just so awesome. Got a chance to actually hang out with him in LA in the flesh. And he's exactly what he puts out there on camera. Not everybody is. Brandon is 100%. All the Roundtable guys are. It's actually really cool.
Agreed.
But no, this has been fun, man. It's a throwback. This used to be my show back in the day. Like, JE Live used to go 5 hours when I first started going live. And now now I typically go like 1 to 2 at the max. But this was fun. I really enjoyed it. We had just so many things to talk about, like we always do on the NFC West Roundtable. So yeah, we got our stuff out of the way, the stuff we wanted to talk about that we don't have enough time to. Otherwise, the NFC West Roundtable would be 3 hours.
Well, that's part of, I think, why we had so many subjects they've been chambered for me that I wanted to talk to you on this, that I've been like, we don't have the time to get it because we're already out on the thing. So it's like, that's why partly, and I've still got some more stuff I want to talk to you about on the next time. So
hell yeah.
We will be back in a couple of weeks with another roundtable side over, again, from Jake's side. I'll be broadcasting my side too. But thank you guys for watching today. Hit that like button, sub up on both sides. Check us out on the NFC West Roundtable in a couple of hours. But until next time, please don't forget, let's enjoy this game. Let's get out of this healthy. Let's have the game of the year this next week in this Sunday's game. Let's have a back and forth affair. Let's have it be a lot of fun. Let's show the NFL why these are the best 2 teams in the NFL this year. It's all within this division. And let's face back up again the NFC Conference Championship. Okay. How about that too? Huh?
Hell yeah.
You down? 3
Let's
matchups? Let's go.
Let's go. Do it.
All right. We'll be back soon, folks. A couple minutes here with the Seahawks Syndicate. But until then, please don't forget, go Hawks.